Hi, folks. I'm bringing my friends on. We got a good one tonight. We're not going to run out of anything to talk about tonight. There's Freddie.
Hi, everyone.
There's Greg, and there's
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening. I almost screwed up here. We're waiting for our other good friend to come on, unless he fell asleep.
He's probably coming there now, maybe. No, that's another thing. He was only really late when he would come to drive for you. Buddy Regan always tells the story because we know Buddy Regan was the leading trainer. Buddy Regan tells the story. He had a
well, Greg, tell everyone who Buddy Regan was.
Oh, Buddy Regan for 10 years in a row was the leading trainer at Yonkers and Roosevelt. Every year I'd get the harness horse and you'd see Buddy Regan, perennial leading trainer at Yonkers and Roosevelt. He was from Fredericton, New Brunswick. So 11 hours from where I'm from in Cape Breton. But anyway, he tells the story about one night, as he was getting older, his horses weren't as good. So he goes to get on, takes the horse. He's out in the outdoor paddock, and Billy O'Donnell is driving the horse. And they go to Billy O'Donnell was in the shower. So they had to get him out of the shower to drive the horse.
and Buddy Regan turned his stable over to Linda Toscano. That will tell you what became along. So.
That's right. She worked for Buddy, yeah.
Right.
Buddy Regan was the only one that had stainless steel water buckets and feed buckets. Stainless steel. Nobody ever had that.
Yep. And he also had
when I talked to Jimmy
he also had all of his stalls padded with the
base saddlery.
There must be a delay here because I know that there's a delay. I think Greg has a delay because he hears us after we speak and then he stops.
Oh, that's just normal.
Yeah.
It never happens before. It only happens when Greg.
He's probably right.
There's a delay.
I'll try to, but I think that's what it is, and I don't know why. Now we're getting lightning down here in Pennsylvania, so maybe. But so just keep that in mind, and we'll get it done. And I apologize. Oh, by the way, can I say something? Yeah. For the group, that are there today, thank you for coming. And if you could do like you did last Friday night, keep asking us questions in the chat that are relevant to what we're going to talk about, because we're really here for you. You're the audience. I mean, we want to do, but as far as having conversations about, is it raining in your place or whatever, you can do them somewhere else, because everybody did an excellent job last Friday at keeping the chat relative to what we were discussing for the evening. So it made for a good show. Do you want me to tell me what's going to be on, Larry, while you're doing this?
Go ahead.
Do you want me? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And folks, what happened is we come to this last minute. We decide, it's live for sure. Billy O'Donnell is going to come on, who I just mentioned. Billy O'Donnell was the first man to earn 4, 6, 8, 10 million at the Meadowlands. The first driver to go 150, 149. He missed 148, but 47 when he went in 46 and 4 with Cam Best. So there he has a lot of firsts. So he'll be, and what he's famous for now is he runs COSA, the Central Ontario Standardbred Association, where actually today he was at a marketing course, so he can tell us hopefully when he gets on about that. Michael, I have a job for you tonight.
Google, you're in trouble, Michael.
No, because we get talking about. I like to know the facts on things. We talk about the handle here, the handle there. Like, could you tell me what the record handles in history have been at Belmont, Aqueduct, and Saratoga, and then Roosevelt? I want to.
Saratoga is 2 years ago.
The record handle.
Saratoga 2 years ago. 63 million.
What was?
63 million, Saratoga.
Okay.
Travers Day.
And what about the other two?
Not sure about Aqueduct. I would be surprised if Aqueduct gets high because they've got winter dates. I I would hope
Roosevelt
and
if
Yonkers.
you went to if you went to ChatGPT or something, it would tell you, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, I know
Saratoga handle at Aqueduct. All-time record. What's that?
I mean, their big day is the Wood Memorial. I mean, maybe 20 million. Roosevelt and Yonkers. I mean, Freddie might know. I mean, I'm guessing somewhere around 4.
We're going back to those days and 3 million, in that range.
Yeah, no, I want to compare them though. I tried to call Bob tonight, Freddie, but of course he couldn't hear because I want to say Bob. Because Bob always tells he went to Belmont or Aqueduct in the afternoon, and the handle would be this, and he went, and the handle was like that. Then he went to Roosevelt, and the handle it had the crowds just like that, but it never did handle what the thoroughbreds do. And that's where
they did it on one night. They did it on one night.
International Trot.
Where it was like, it was like the attendance was like 34,000, and the handle was higher than what they did at Belmont or Aqueduct, wherever they were racing. And I do remember that it was like one particular night, but it was a little bit. There was more averaged out back then. The handles weren't that different between the thoroughbreds and the standardbreds at that time, and a lot of the mutual clerks used to work at Belmont and Aqueduct, and then they'd come over to Roosevelt and Yonkers and race in the evenings too. And they had a pretty good living. They were making a pretty good living between the 4 tracks. So,
and in Chicago, I mean, Chicago in the 70s, the horse racing tracks and the harness tracks would outdraw every sports team except the Bears. Would outdraw the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks had 16,666, and the Cubs and Sox would have less. And Sportsman's Park would outdraw them all the time. So
I was there in 1974. And that was when the paddock was under the grandstand, and Spartan Hanover and Peter Houghton beat Kilbuck Mary and Dick Buxton, I guess it was, in the open trot. And Braidwood with Walter Paisley won the open pace. Does that sound right?
It was well, Greg, you know this. People would come down to the paddock, and they would come down. The horse would come out of the paddock, but they would have ropes to keep the people away, and the horses would come out of the paddock, and they had to come between all the people for about 20 or 30 feet to get onto the track. And everybody would, not everyone, but there a lot of people would be down there to watch the horses come out of the paddock.
Yeah, I can remember, when you had to get there to park. But historically, and I said this on the last show, that the Meadowlands harness always outhandled the Meadowlands thoroughbreds. And some say that, well, maybe if the Meadowlands had opened first with the thoroughbreds, but I don't think. What wasn't the issue in the day that the great thoroughbreds did not have to come across the river. Now, they did, I know that, and didn't Spectacular Bid get beat at the Meadowlands, didn't he? What was the horse that beat him? I should know.
Yeah, I should know too.
Because Charlie, who looked after Muscle Hill as a stallion, worked for the guy who that horse's name, Dr. Chips or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that happened to Meadowlands. And I see Cordero and them certainly rode there, but it just never had the appeal that the Meadowlands.
No, because the thoroughbred stars were still in New York. Harness racing, most of the stars were at the Meadowlands. And at that time, you had just live racing. So it's really incredible, the vision of those people at the Meadowlands, not only for the facility with Bob Quigley, but the style of racing that DeFrank put together, that it would just be accepted almost immediately. And to start doing the numbers they did, they actually revolutionized the game, because you did have mile tracks. You had the Red Mile, you had Hawthorne, you had Cal Expo and Golden Bear Raceway, but there was nothing like the Meadowlands. Nobody ever seen anything like that.
Larry, you remember the Meadowlands Shuffle? You raced on it. I did.
Yeah, I remember. I remember.
You go out to the top, and all of a sudden at the quarter pole, you're eighth. I mean, that's the Meadowlands Shuffle.
When you guys are talking about the thoroughbreds at the Meadowlands, you're talking about night racing, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that
I know
was another difference, right? Yeah.
they hated to come here. Nobody wanted to come here. The
Right.
trainers didn't want to come. The horses didn't want to come, and the jockeys didn't want to come.
And you got to remember the 70s, especially the late 70s, not the greatest time for New York City. You know, there was a lot of bad stuff happening.
Right. I'm not coming up here. I asked Google AI horse that beat spectacular bid at the Meadowlands. Okay, let me see if I can just horse that beat spectacular bid horse, because I was trying to think of that. That was a big thing. But I'm going to say it was a name like Dr. Chips or something like that. Anyway.
I got a question here. I don't know if you want to answer it or not.
Okay.
I don't. But he's a good guy. This is a good guy that asked this question. I don't know if we want to go in this direction or not, or just wait for Billy. But here's the question: can you see it,
Greg? Yes. That's a good question, PM. I'm not training at all now. I've had some health issues actually. And as far as the trotters and the pacers, no, I guess everybody migrated to the trotters now. But at one time, where I grew up in Nova Scotia, we were the only ones who had trotters. So you had to race them against pacers. So it was quite a novelty. And then Muscle Hill came along, but probably the first one that got me noticed was a pacer, Pallone Ranger.
That's what I was going to say. Pallone Ranger. I was going to bring.
Yeah, he was brought back to Paredes by Chris Ryder's crew. He was not. You got to know Bob. Freddie. Bob Marks, who ran Paredes, would not take a horse from anybody. No way. So unless they were absolutely done, and then they were brought back to Paredes, Bob would call me to try them. And one of the first ones was Pallone Ranger. And they had said that he had a bad heart and he shouldn't race again. And so I got him in. I looked at him on Labor Day Sunday, brought him in on Monday, and Dr. Tom Oliver got listening to his heart, and he had 2 files on him, one from Cornell and one from New Bolton Center, that he said he had a bad heart and he was finished. Okay. Tom listened to his heart and he said, well, all I can detect is a functional murmur. I said, well, my mother has that. He said, yeah. So what do you want to do with him? Well, I said, he looks dehydrated, and he was distant. Cat Manzi had driven him the day before at Freehold. He was last. So I said, take him off the Lasix and give him 5 milliliters of Winstrol V. And this is a good story because we've talked about this. So I started that. I raced him for the first time, and it was historical that a guy debuted in the Triple Crown race with a horse. It was also the first Triple Crown race at Empire City at Yonkers. That's after they had done the renovations. And Pallone Ranger, it was like the miracle on ice. He won the Messenger for $550,000 the first time I raced him. So trotters and pacers, but I think the world has migrated to trotters. It's hard to believe because the day people didn't want to bet on them, huh? But now they make less breaks and stuff like that. And by the way, I want to go a little further with this Winstrol thing. Then they decide, because we've been talking about this, then they decide they're going to now test for stanozolol, okay? So I said to Dr. Oliver, no. I've done media training seminars for the American Association of Equine Practitioners. They're not going to take their prescriptions away. They're going after the cocktails for the guys who give them 10 Winstrol, 10 ECP, and 10 Equipoise. They're going after the abuse, not the prescription that was approved by the FDA and Health Canada. Well, boy, I was wrong. He went down. He was second in the Walt Whitman pace, came up. He was high in the picograms on the Winstrol. So here's what I did. I had to wait till he tested normal. I called Balmoral, and that's when I was taking muscle to the American National. I said, can you race on a prescription dose of Winstrol in Illinois? They said yes. I just want to disclose it. I sent him out to Kentucky. He won. He came a quarter and 25-3. He won the Open at Balmoral, and I never raced him again. Why? It wasn't fair. Imagine you could take your dog to the doctor, and if the dog is not doing well, not eating well, emaciated at all, the vet will prescribe stanozolol. But you can't give it to the horse. Well, they say, oh, you can, but you just can't race on it. No, it was something, again, you can't say to the horse, will you diet and exercise differently like a human? Winstrol did make them dwell better. But as usual, they threw the baby out with the bathwater, kind of like I said, Joe and I were talking the other day about the milkshakes. If they had made it 8 ounces for everybody, then you could buy yours at Costco. I could buy mine at Walgreens. Freddie could buy his down in Virginia. Larry could go and buy his at ShopRite, whatever. And everybody then had the same thing because what it did by not having the milkshake, if you will, they made it easier for the black market to come up with products that they cannot test for that give a similar effect. And if you ask anybody, and I won't name names, but I know most of the famous guys that have gotten a lot of tests, and they'll tell you they'll take 8 ounces of baking soda over Epigen or anything because it works on all of them. Where I know studies that I could tell you about the whole EPO thing. It doesn't work on every horse, but it seemed that you could pretty well set your watch with the milkshake that if they could pace 56 at the Meadowlands, if that happened, they go 54. But again, and that way, the same with the Winstrol. If they had left that, because they could have done it this way, the same, if you gave the horse 6 milliliters of Winstrol, you'd be a high. Okay, because they have ways of detecting the picograms. They should have left it at the prescription dose. Like my boys said to me one day, Brendan and Sean, they're great athletes. The horses are all on steroids, aren't they? They didn't know, nor do they care. So, and studies have shown they'll break down less with the Winstrol because it does help build their muscle, build their tendons and everything. So this other stuff is ridiculous. It's harder on them, but I can go on about it all day. But that PM that got me in a long-winded response over the trotters and pacers because I had to think of Ranger. And but thanks for asking that. But it just happened. And I've had quite a few other good trotters besides Muscle Hill. So it really, I can say, really, I had Captain's Quarters. I trained him down. He went up for Herb Holland, and he won the Metro in Toronto. So that's really the last pacer I had. So when he became a pretty good horse, and he's going to stand stud, he also was second in the North American Cup. So that's the last pacer I trained was Captain's Quarters, and then Herb.
Captain Quarters, he's standing stud now, correct? With
what else have we got? What's that?
Where's he standing stud with Windback?
No, we don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
Don't know yet.
I'm supposed to get a free breed into him for life.
You will. You will.
Okay.
Chris Coyle, listen, Larry, there's a guy we got, a Chris Coyle. I call him.
Oh, yeah, he's a great guy.
Great person.
Great person.
We had on last year, he had Blueprint, who won the Jug. And what's the filly that Burks that won the Jug, Ed? He had them too. He's had more, as he calls them, grade 1 winning horses than anybody. He's in North Carolina, but he's really developed a reputation. When he sends them back to you, they're ready to begin training. People like when they come back and they're all fat and they're telling you how they've grown and filled out, and that they don't grow that much. A lot of that is they appear because, that they're fed well, and if they're on good hay and good grass. But he seems to have really perfected getting them back into training, trained down, probably a little faster, in better shape, and they last all season. So he just mentioned Ted Wing and Jackie Lee because, we're both fans of them, that's for sure. I mean, Ted was a very good friend of mine who died a few years ago. And Jackie Lee obviously was the voice of Roosevelt. Another one who announced some at Roosevelt, and I see he won a stake race today at the Red Mile with a pacer is Jerry Glantz. Because didn't he announced some at Roosevelt, right? He was good.
Yep. He
how
did
long
that.
was he?
He was at Monticello first, and then Roosevelt. Yeah.
Did he just fill in the odd time at Roosevelt, or was he there?
Oh,
he
took over towards the end. He took over towards the end. You know.
Okay.
But
very good announcer. Yeah, he really should be announcing somewhere now if he would. He's good.
If he wanted to.
Let me answer a question that PM has for me. Let me answer a question here because we talked about it the other day. And he asked, Larry, have you found out anything interesting about the horse's heart since the last show? Yes. There was a question that came in talking about the heart and what size of heart does it have, and we talked about the heart size. I think because we mentioned Secretariat's heart was a horse's normal heart size is 10 pounds. Secretary was 20 pounds. So my answer to that was that, and it's a bit controversial, and probably maybe you people on the show here won't agree with me, but this is what I really believe. That I don't believe that Secretariat went. This is how that conversation started. This is all about this question I'm about to answer if I ever get to it. They said that Secretary was the greatest because he went that 1 mile, and he went the last quarter as fast as he went the first quarter, and it's because his heart was twice the size. Well, there were 2 or 3 other horses that had big hearts that never did what Secretariat did, but I don't believe that was the reason. I believe it had something else. I believe there was another reason why he did what he did that day. But you got to remember, if there's a cavity is only so big. A horse's cavity that holds the heart and the lungs and the stomach is only so big. And if you take, and it's tightly jammed in there, if you take a heart and make it double the size, you're taking something away from the size of the lung. So it becomes a detrimental situation. It becomes a no-win situation. So I don't believe that Secretariat was the horse that he was because his heart was 20 pounds instead of 10. Because for the 20-pound heart to fit in the area where it had to fit, the lungs surround it. That means you had to take away from the lungs. So this question came up there about the horse's heart, and what happens? The horse's heart grows up until he's 4 years old, and what they do find, what is true, and this also answers a multitude of questions. And one of the questions it answers is that my good friend Peter, he don't believe they should race 2-year-olds. But here's another reason why they do race 2-year-olds, and maybe they should, because it's proven that a 2-year-old in training, the 2-year-old's heart, it's not fully good. The heart's not fully developed until it's 4 or 5 years old. But a 2-year-old, a 2-year-old that's in training, and a 2-year-old that's not in training, the 2-year-old in training heart is a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, and is ready to do a whole lot more. So that's another reason why if you're going to race a thoroughbred or a standardbred, you should keep them and you should start breaking them as yearlings and training them, even if you're not going to race them. But that's why so that answers your question. If you train a 2-year-old or break a yearling and a 2-year-old, their heart against another 2-year-old, even as would be a lot stronger and probably maybe a pound or 2 heavier if he's in training. And if he's not in training, and if you don't put him in training until they're 3, it could be detrimental to not racing wise. He wouldn't be as good. So that's the studies that when I looked into this, that's what I found. So that answered that question. Okay.
I'd like to comment on your comment.
Go ahead.
Okay.
First of all, Secretariat's not known for one race. Secretariat came from last in the Kentucky Derby to win. In the Preakness, he was sitting last in a 6-horse field or 7-horse field and circled the field in the club turn when he won the Preakness in a record time. And then, of course, the Belmont, everybody knows, went 2:24. The announcer was famous to say that record will never get beat. Nobody's ever come close to beating it. I think what some people that are smarter than me said about Secretariat is probably what it was. That horse, for whatever reason, whether it was an enlarged heart or whatever, could synthesize oxygen unlike any other horse up to that point and maybe since, and could do things that horses couldn't do. I mean, to think that you're watching the Belmont in 1973 and he's going 109 and change to the 3/4 pole in a 1.5 mile race and starts drawing off, nobody would ever thought that was possible. And I think you saw the closest thing I've seen to it when Flightline raced 3 years ago. When Flightline won the Pacific Classic in 159 and looked like he was idled, actually he stopped riding him halfway down the stretch, Flavian Pratt. And then they corrected the time, but I when they put up the time in the Breeders' Cup, he got to the 3/4 pole like 107 and change. I mean, there were 2 horses battling, and the rest of the field was 10 to 17 lengths back. I mean, this horse, for whatever reason, just could function as an athlete better than anybody else that I've seen.
Sometimes
something here.
Of course.
About the I checked. Dr. Patches beat Seattle Slew in the Patterson Handicap at the Meadowlands. That was probably the most famous Meadowlands thoroughbred race. Yeah, Angel Cordero rode him.
When they used to race the Meadowlands Cup, that was a major race.
What's that?
When they used to race the Meadowlands Cup, that was a major race. You know,
let me respond a little. Let me respond a little to Michael. And sometimes I have to go back to my hidden past to try to not to win an argument, but to challenge what most people think what you're saying is correct. First of all, I think, and I could be a little wrong here, I think Secretary had about 19 to 20 races. I think he won them all but 2. The 2 races he won, they made bullshit excuses for. A couple of times when if he had what he had when he did what he did, why didn't he do it all the time? And how could you ever get beat making bullshit excuses? But aside from that, make believe that you're 1,000% right. Make believe he won 20 out of 20 if 20 starts is what he had. I happen to be during them years. I happened to be on the other side of the fence. I was in racing, but I was working the other side of the fence, and I know the veterinarian. There were 2 veterinarians that used to go to Europe all the time. One of them I can mention because he got caught, and Dr. Gerard, and in fact he wound up going to jail even though he had F. Lee Bailey with him. And the other one I think was some name like Hartman or something like that. I don't remember, but it was them years, and they were the veterinarians that treated horses like Carryback and Secretariat, and they were on speed dial when them horses were in. So and back then them two, especially Gerard, knew what they were testing for because he was very friendly with all the vets. In fact, that's how he got away with buying them 2 horses from wherever the hell he bought them from and switched horses. When he got caught doing that, because the horses he bought from, it wasn't Australia, it was some
Venezuela or something like that.
Some they had no tattoos.
They're not down under. They're South America.
but they look.
I got a story.
Go ahead.
Are you there?
Go ahead.
Yep.
You fools. Go ahead. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I have a story about hearts. Christy Marcos, my significant other, just said to me she took care of foiled again and was second trainer on him. And she tells the story how she came in one day and Herman said they sold foiled again. She cried all day and she said, "Boy, you made a mistake there." Well, we know the rest is history. But what they thought with him, and probably a vet said that, they thought foiled again had a problem with his heart. And his full brother was donated to Rutgers because they said he had a heart problem. So you see what I'm saying? Some of these diagnoses, they're just so, when you send them to universities and that,
Yep.
it's not practical stuff. If you send them there, they'll find something wrong. There's no doubt about it. So, but in a way, the business has got everything is they get the vet first. I get the vet last. Another thing I want to say about Secretariat, I'm not convinced that he was that good. Why? Well, okay, the race he went with Sham and took off in the Belmont was kind of like what Falcon Seelster did with Forrest Skipper, when he sat outside of him and took off, that famous Hamiltonian day, the day that, O'Donnell won with Annihilator, or it might have been the practice day. I forget which day. So if he was that dominant, how would he? I don't care. They said, well, Alan Jerkins beat him up in Saratoga. Please, I don't want to hear it. But the funny thing is, they're still talking about it. Here it is. Flightline, you're right. That was he looked really, really, and he didn't race that much either. So, but the Secretariat thing, there was never like a big field, or in the Derby there was, but it's not like it is now. So I don't know what to say about that.
I think you're right, Greg. But here's the thing. Horse racing was still very huge in the 70s, and you hadn't seen a Triple Crown winner since Citation in 1948.
Right.
So the hunger was there, and of course he looked the part too. But those three races probably are as good as any three races any thoroughbred went, right? Now that horse got beat in the Wood Memorial against Sham. Really didn't have an excuse.
Right.
But then he comes back with those three races, and as you said, he got beat.
Who did Alan Jerkins beat with a Saratoga? Do you remember the horse?
Was it Onion?
I think you might be right.
But
well, you can look it up. I've been looking stuff up. You can give me a link.
Hey, Larry.
Yeah.
It's a good time to put up the Bill O'Donnell thing right now.
Okay. Yes. Let's
he probably will eventually get here. I think he's kind of like he did to Buddy Regan that time. He might be in the shower getting ready. He might have forgotten.
I just did.
I think he'll show up.
Okay. Before he shows up, we got to when he does show up, remind him to show up next week, because Freddie put together a little tribute to him, and so I hope he shows up. Freddie, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, the tribute's going to be released sometime between October 15th and the 30th, and I'm still working on it. It's a tremendous amount of work, and we're looking for sponsors, and great. And I'm looking really forward to this. It's really coming along really, really great. And so we do need some more sponsors, but anyhow, that's enough there. So
I was getting texts, kind of like arguing with Greg, but I think Greg's not way off base here, because
what's that? What's that? I'm sorry,
I got a text, that took the other point of what you were saying, and I tend to agree with you, because the great horses of the 70s, Seattle Slew, and Spectacular Bid, I think were just as good.
Well, that's what I think.
But again, when you're waiting 25 years for a Triple Crown winner, and that horse wins the Triple Crown, he gets to be, that's like hitting the 61 homers, right? Nobody will ever forget.
What's interesting, though, it is amazing, what sells. There's still, like the thoroughbreds, what they had won at Keeneland. It was a gun runner, went for $3.5 million. Okay,
Mhm.
so, and we'll probably have a standardbred will go for $1 million down in one. We'll probably in Lexington, but it's a business, as I say. I'd like to, and we will. You know what? I got to make Larry. We got to make this even better because I know Bob Baffert. I can call him, probably get him on here. I've been to the
Yeah,
Derby
let's
with him.
get Bob Baffert on the show.
Yeah, well, or Chad Brown. They say, you know, was with
Chad Brown. He's got the
I'd
Philly
like to ask
connection.
them. I'd like to ask them why are they not going any faster? Like they say, don't they? A lot of them now. In the day, if they ran 110, that was big, wasn't it, Michael? Now they all gonna run that fast.
Dr. Fager went 132 in 1968. That's still the record.
8:32. Well, there you go. See, there you go. So what are they doing wrong? Ours improve every year. And by the way, I've seen old pictures of them too, and they've improved their look a lot as well, like ours have. They were coarser the other day. I saw the picture of Seabiscuit. Boy, was he over on his knees like you wouldn't believe that how he could do it. So, and they raced more often. But you even see that they had a race a few years ago.
Here's
For
Billy O.
Pat is not.
All right.
Now I got to shift.
I
I
think
got to
Billy,
shift.
Billy, where are you? You look like
I'm just leaving the I'm just leaving the paddock at Mohawk, and I'm in my car. So
Yeah.
I'm 20 minutes from home.
Yeah.
So right now, it's the best I can do.
Yeah. So I listen. I've already told them about 4, 6, 8, and 10 million. Sub 50, 49, miss 48 and 47. I told them about you with COSA. Like I want you to, but I told them today you were at a marketing seminar, which is because everybody complains that they're not doing enough marketing. Can you please enlighten people here what you guys have spent on marketing?
We had one our marketing money was held up for about 7, 8 years, so it was accumulating, and it was in a trust fund, which was drawing lots of interest. So we got a one-time payment about 7 years ago for $3.3 million.
Right.
And
yeah,
and then we as a group decided, how are we going to spend this? So we figured we spend $750,000 a year, and it would take 10 years to spend that 3.3. Plus, we were getting about $480,000 a year on top of that. So that would have spent $7.5 million, basically, right? So since
I can't hear you. Can the other guys hear you?
Yeah. I can hear.
Yeah. I hear.
So anyway, we spend it on
Freddie?
various things. We wrapped a bunch of trailers.
No, but quite a bit, right?
Well, we wrapped 140 trailers at no expense to the owners of the trailers, and they were averaged about $4,000 a piece for a 3-horse, up to about 7,000 or 8,000. So we did that for a few years, and then we weren't getting much call for it, so we put that on hold for a couple of years, and we're back doing them again now. And it's you got to get the pictures, whatnot. It takes time, and they'll start doing them now once they get all their whatever they want on their trailers. We did that. We had the Facebook show, live show. We did 10 or 12 of those.
That was the COSA online one.
Yeah, and that was somewhere. They were about $10,000 to $11,000 a show. So we did 10 or 12 of those every year, and then the viewership dropped off there. Plus, we kind of started. We were like during the pandemic doing the qualifiers, right? We start doing that, and now the racetracks all do them, and YouTube does them. So there's really not as much need for that. And so this year we've done a bunch of stuff, like smaller stuff, but we give every racetrack in Ontario, not that it's a lot of money, but there's 12 tracks, out of our marketing budget. Instead of them sending in a proposal for whatever they want to do for a little bit of a day to promote the racing. We give them all $5,000 a year. So just prove that so they get that. So we do that. That's for their marketing to help them out a little bit. And nobody's ever sent a check back for that. And we helped out with the purse account when after the pandemic, there was no bet, and we were trying to keep our purses up, and we put some money into that, and we still got some left, and we're still budget now. We've been budgeting $250 a year now this year, so to let it build up a little bit more. So hopefully you can do some stuff. But my big thing is, and I've been trying to do this for many years, that I would like to have a handicapping contest, but not the kind where you have to be there in person, to do it online. So what they were doing with all these national handicap programs, the Meadowlands would be the final, and I think it was only 25,000 was the winner's pot. So I said, we got money, we could seed it for 50,000 plus. So you're guaranteed 50, and it's just all kinds of problems with that. And I just talked to the guy again today. His guy that would do that had left Woodbine, and they haven't replaced him yet. But they do. So I talked to a bunch of gamblers, the country that I knew that were big gamblers, and they thought the best way to do it would to have 4 eliminations, and like every other weekend for 8 weeks, right? Four eliminations in a final. And make it like the purse money, 50, 28, 12, 5, or 12, 8, 5. So everybody, not just would get paid, everybody would. So I talked to pokerstars.com, and the lady this is 5, 6, 7 years ago, she said that their first PokerStars championship that they had was $286,000. That was the total purse. 7 years ago, it was 16 million. It was 16 million. It was 16 million. So she said, don't get discouraged.
Well, Michael, you be good at that.
If it doesn't, grow in the first year or two. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a guy like Michael, right? I mean,
yeah.
So
Michael, that's for you, isn't it?
$300 to enter, Mike.
When we used to go to Las Vegas in the 80s, there was a thoroughbred handicapping tournament every day. You'd go to the Barbary Coast on Monday, you go somewhere else on Tuesday, and they were all loaded. Handicapping tournaments are the one thing we are absolutely missing. It's the easiest sell you've got.
Well, I'm trying. I mean,
and wouldn't it do this?
But
wouldn't it
don't
do
even
this?
Be there.
Right. Yeah, but Billy, here's what I've been saying. I said on last week's show, I remember Sam McKee telling me a few years before he died, the big problem was when they made the deal, when they started the OTB and the simulcasting, you got approximately 3% off track, and we'll say whatever, well, a lot more on track, and they'll never switch it. You kind of have to change that now, because I just don't know that if they're gonna go back to the track, like I think they will on with big events. You get a big crowd, for your big nights. If you look at the other tracks, I've been to the Derby when there is no big day. There is nobody there. I've been to France when there was no big day, nobody there. So there is just so many events now. And I've said, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think you said you spent around $3 million on marketing. And I've said you've done stuff like the Costa TV, Prime Time. Do you fund that one now?
No, that's
I
Cujo.
thought maybe you did.
Yeah.
I thought that might
Curtis.
He does it himself?
Yeah. Well, he's got some sponsorship, right?
Okay. But you did the Costa online. Then didn't you also sponsor the CBS Sports Hamiltonian a couple times?
No, he did that. They paid him. The Hamiltonian Society, they paid him. to do it with our
I thought
name. He
you
was
guys
using
paid.
no. The Hamiltonian Society paid him to do that. But Maura called me and said, "Can we use your name?" And I said, "Whatever you want to do is fine. Yeah, you can have your own, or
Oh, okay.
whatever the case may be." So this year it was what do they call it, prime time racing or something. So
Yeah.
but that all that kind of stuff. But I'm still a big handicapping guy. I'm like Michael. I know what works, and I talk to guys that I know, and they said, "Well, if it was a $50,000, say it was." And he didn't have a price. He said, "You got to seed it with something." So, okay, we got money. So how about seeding it for 50,000 added? So would you pay 300, Michael, to join that?
I would, but it's probably not the best investment. And I'm going to tell you why. I talk to people in Vegas all the time, and they told me something that I could not believe, but they all had the same story. That people that now go to Vegas, a lot of them don't gamble. They gamble on their phones. They can't get these people into the casino.
No.
So the telephone has basically rewired everyone. They want to do everything on their phone. So I think the best avenue for you to pursue would be an internet tournament, what I call a pick and pray. In other words, if you're going to do 5 races, the 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th, and 10th at Woodbine, win in place. You run it as an internet tournament. You have an endless amount of people that would enter that tournament. And what you don't get in an entry fee, you'll get in handle.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. Now here's what I heard today, that Sweden just closed their last bricks and mortar casino in the country because of the phone stuff, right? And here, our marketing, the OLG, which is Ontario Lottery and Gaming, right? When they started online gaming 3 years ago, the first semester or whatever, we met with them, they did in revenue for them, and they take out 20%. So revenue for them was $200,000. That was it. So, or 200 million maybe. So anyway, this next quarter, they projected to do $4 billion in revenue, just revenue on sports wagering and the online betting, right? So that's how much it's raised. It's gone. So you're right, all of it is. So that's a good point. Just let them enter. Now I thought if you bet with your own money, that you would bet, because you're handicapping, say, 4 races, and you're a bettor, and you can only bet win place. You're going, well, I like to pick 4, or I like to pick 3, or whatever the case may be. I thought that would generate more handle too, right? Real handle.
It doesn't make for the best tournament,
Now,
Bill.
how this became, I can go back to, and then, what's that? Sorry?
It doesn't make for the best tournament. What you want is a tournament where everybody has a chance for a while. If somebody comes in on race 1 and scores for like $9,000, now you got everybody losing interest. And that's not what you want. What you want is everybody to follow as many races as they can and feel like they have a chance.
That's right. That's right.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Where they've made the mistake is they've gone to these live tournaments, which are great for the big players, but the big players are going to come. What you want is a tournament that exposes your product not only to harness racing people that are home, but people that are betting football, basketball, just playing poker, whatever they're doing.
Well,
if they just catch their eye, and you're not going to convert everyone, and you're not going to convert most of them, but if you start doing stuff that's a little exciting, I think you're going to get a response.
I like your way of thinking, Michael. That's why I said you're the brain.
I like that.
So there, But how do you do this though? How do you do this though? If the fact that you only get 3 whatever it is, the margin is small, off track. How do you fund it? Like if you're only how does that happen?
I think your first one's going to be a loss leader.
Okay.
You,
Okay.
you,
All right.
you have to approach it like that. Why did McDonald's sell double cheeseburgers for $1 for 20 years?
Right.
Because they were hoping they could get you to buy Coke.
Yeah.
Maybe a full price item, but they got you in the door.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is significant, but my
That's what-
father, the first time he took me to Las Vegas, we went out with one of the premier hosts there, and we were walking down Las Vegas Boulevard, and he said, "Why don't they just built the escalator to Caesars?" And he was pointing to Flamingo. He says, "How much do you think this sign cost?" I said, "I have no idea." My $45 million. This was 1977. He says, "Why do you think Caesars is doing this?" I said, "I have no idea." He says, "Because the escalator only takes you to Caesars. There's no escalator that brings you from Caesars back to Las Vegas Boulevard. Here's my job as a casino host. Once I get you in the building, yeah, I'd love for you to gamble. I'd love for you to go see one of our lounge acts. I'd love for you to go to the bar. I'd love you to buy some souvenirs. I'd love you to have a meal. I'd love you to do anything in our hotel. But if I cannot get you into the hotel, none of that can happen." And the hotel today is the telephone.
But here's the other thing too, though, Michael.
Good way of wording
I've
it.
said,
Good way of
here's
wording
our
it.
problem. We not only want to get them there to the on track product. If they don't gamble, if they fill the restaurant, if they fill the outdoor food trucks, if they go up on the top of the Meadowlands there, that does not go into the purse account. Like to the point that I'm afraid of decoupling. So, I can remember when I talked to the years that used to be racetracks in Canada. I mentioned it last week, Rod Sealing. And I said, someday what's going to happen, those politicians are going to go to the races, look around and say, there's nobody here. Why are we doing it? And they'll say, well, about the infrastructure of the trucks, the trailers, and this to that. Well, they can say, you know what we'll do? We'll just decouple, expand the casino, and they'll get better jobs there with better benefits, stuff like that. That is my concern. And another thing, Bill O'Donnell, like this, like my father said when he was living, we have a real problem. What's that? We want everybody to go to the races, but we don't want to go ourselves. That's very true. I don't want to go. No.
That's because it hasn't been done properly. And let me use Mohawk and the Meadowlands perfectly. Now, the average time between races is 30 minutes at the Thoroughbreds, 30 minutes at Naira, 30 minutes at Gulfstream, 30 minutes at Churchill. And you try and get somebody to do that, they're not going to do it. Although Mohawk was going close to 30 minutes. Bill, you were there Saturday, right? For Metro night? I mean, they were going about every 28 minutes for all the stakes, and they did 4.6 million. That's a lot of money for a harness track. But on a normal night, you can't do that. So what you do is you run 30 minutes and you run less races, but you have a race every 15 minutes. In other words, let's not use the Meadowlands and Mohawk because it's too personal, but track A goes at 7 o'clock. They go official at 7:05. At 7:05, the post parade for track B comes out. They race at 7:15. They go official at 7:20. At 7:20, the post parade for track A comes out. You have constant action. Nobody wants to do that.
They now here, like, our guys, they say that they have to follow the Meadowlands lead. That's okay. So they're the lead. Then do what they got to do. But you got to, they just say, well, we switched their post time for 5 minutes later. So you got to switch hours, right? Hang around that much longer. That's a big problem. There's nobody does want to work together. And they,
well, when I was at the Meadowlands, I would call McClinchy or the people in the mutual office and go, here, we're going off at this time. Yeah. If there was an inquiry, I would call them up and say, you want to go short and I'll go long, or you want to go long and I'll go short? And we never had those problems because we were constantly communicating.
Well, yeah, and maybe that's a problem now. I don't know. And maybe that's just an excuse why they we were mandated during the pandemic. We had to go 30 minutes, right? Then we talked them to 25. So now go back to 20. Everything's done. It's over. The pandemic. Well, why not go back to 20? So they're afraid to do that. I don't know
It
why.
always
but
was
they,
20.
They've seen it. Yeah.
Everybody's getting Bill. Everybody's getting the wrong read on the cards. You know, I talked to Bill McClinchy about this all the time. So we came back and in 21, and we did gangbusters for a couple of years because everybody all of a sudden had an ADW account. You know, everybody had Twin Spires account. Everybody had, you know, HPI.
Right,
you know, people that never had it got it. So we had 2 booming years. So to think that when things start settling down after 23 that we could match those figures, no, we can't. And you're seeing, you know, the precipitous decline here, but you're seeing a precipitous decline off a record year. So now you just have to pivot to where the business is in 2026, and Canada's doing that because they're picking up Sundays. I mean, Sundays is a good move.
We're down 6% last year. We've been down every year. Yeah, we were down 6% last year. So we're down now this year, just not officially, but just from watching the handles, about 15%. That's how much we're down handle. And our handle here is really important to the point that that's where our sire stake money comes from. So that's very, very important, right? So how are we going to combat that? You know,
well,
we asked.
Hey, Michael, I want to jump in here. Now, you've been watching the Thoroughbreds. What are the Thoroughbreds doing to bring in the younger people into the audience? And they're betting all over the place with the Thoroughbreds. So how do we transfer that over to the harness racing?
Well, here's the interesting part. I mean, the Thoroughbreds, you know this, Freddie, and
I know.
Everything's event driven at the Thoroughbreds. Greg talked about it. You go to Gulfstream on a Wednesday in January. There's nobody there. You know, you go to Santa Anita on a Thursday. There's nobody there.
Right.
Everything, you know, but these big events.
They have a much bigger pool. They have a much bigger pool of those off-track betting them because they have bigger fields. And the perception is, again, with the exception of the Meadowlands and maybe a little bit of they've always been way ahead of us. You know, I guess the fact that they gallop, people find it easier, the jockeys. I'm just saying, you know, it's not easy. You know, to the point I'm wondering, I just can't see them going to the track. Kind of like Jeff Gurrell told me. He said he can get them to come once, but they don't come anymore. Kind of I mentioned to it, Fred, they really don't want to go. And if they go, So you'd almost have to make it, going back to what Michael said, you'd really have to make it a phone or device-driven product.
Except on your event days.
I guess.
Yeah, in your event days.
Well,
you always got
that. But you'd have, that's right.
You know, with baseball,
even on your other days, you'd be device-driven. No, because on your event days, you can get people there. I'm talking on the, you know, the other, you know, X amount of dates that we have. There's a lot more of them. If there's a way that they could somehow stimulate the handle. So, you know, so we're paying our way, put it that way. I just, you know, I'm afraid of the whole decoupling thing. I know.
Every meeting that I go to with Ontario Racing, whoever, and they go, well, how do we get people back to the track? I said, I got a solution. Easy. Give me a bus and a court order or a gun. That's the only way. That's the only way.
That's very
you should run for office, Bill.
Well, why do you keep beating that drum? So I said, we sit around here and all we do, we talk for 2 hours and then we say, well, let's get another date for another meeting. To do what? I said, my mother used to say, this sounds like a Newfoundland meeting. Everybody talking, nobody listening. They're not doing nothing. Somebody's got to do something. But they're not coming back to the track. No. So going back to simulcast, how it started in the beginning, I was on the committee at the Meadowlands, right? So Chris McElwain was working for Hal Handel. So now we're getting approved full card simulcast. We could bring in, you know, both send it and receive it. So he went to Connecticut to the OTB and said, you know, we'll start sending here for the same 5%. They went, no, we're happy with New York, blah, blah. So now he goes here and he goes there. Nobody wanted it. He went to Freehold and he offered them, they offered them 4% and they said no. So he went back and we had a meeting. So he said to Hal, he said, I think at 3%, I think we can get this done. And it'll be a precedent setting thing, right? So Hal said, well, we got to do it because we need the business. He said, but just keep in mind one thing, guys. When you're a $200 whore and you charge $100, you're a $100 whore. You're not going back up. So, and we're here we are 30 years later at 3%, right? And that's only
Just what Sam said.
Vegas
That's right. That's right.
Vegas
And don't
pay
Roberts
3%.
and the other problem, yeah, Roberts controls all of the
all of it, every
yeah.
bit of it.
Oh yeah. And try showing a video of that race. One of his
But you know
races.
what though? But you know, Roberts, that was, you know, all the other places. Roberts kept buying them up. You could have bought Roberts up, you know, along the way, but everybody just let them keep doing it. Now the horse is out, and now you're going to close the door. It's too late, right? Nobody, everybody wants, like, we got 7 days a week racing here at B tracks, right? It's too much. So we said, okay, why don't we just go 6? They go, okay. So that's Western Fair and Flamborough. Okay. Well, we don't want to drop a day though. Oh, really? And the other track goes, we don't want to drop a day. Okay, there we go. Mexican standoff again. Nobody wants to do it, right? They don't want to be, they want to go 6 days, but they don't want to drop a day. They want the other guy to do it. But Great Canadian Gaming, you know, they're pretty strong here anyway, right? They run all the big casinos here in Ontario, and they got lots of power now compared to what they had, you know, 10 years ago, right? So it's not easy, but they're not coming, and we can make them bet. Like if Sweden is surviving with no casinos, and
France.
I was just gonna say France.
Yeah, they don't have any casinos at all.
They might, but they don't get it. It all goes to Latrotte, who is the French government owns everything, huh? Yeah.
PMU,
It's not like they're getting something. Michael, I want to ask you, maybe you could tell me the answer to this one is why, what is it? I think I have an idea, but for the viewers out there, why do Roberts have so much control? Roberts is the company who gets the signal, correct?
Well, I mean, Mohawk is trying to put their signal out on YouTube. A lot of the tracks have their replays and they have a channel on YouTube, but they haven't gone the extra step.
What's the extra step?
Go to YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're saying, if we can tell people that it's not like when I was last I spoke at the University of Arizona Racetrack Symposium right before COVID. You know, it was the week after Thanksgiving, before COVID started. And they were telling me that Roberts, they really, you know, like I was asking, why don't all the tracks have high def? Because now you'd be watching Freehold and Chester in the day. You could hardly see them as compared to you'd see the other tracks that have high def. They blamed everything on Roberts. Is that true? You had to pay them.
We're all high def. Every one of our tracks here are high def. They all got them. But the problem is, but they, you know, they have high def, the TVs, but you send it to HD TVs, right? That's still not everybody has high def TVs, and it's fuzzy a little bit. But the problem here was they got beautiful high def cameras, and they got every other light bulb is out on the racetrack, and so they fixed that. Flamborough, watch Flamborough.
Billy, I'm watching you walk over here. I feel like I'm in a Halloween movie right now.
Hey?
You're so dark. You got the hat on, the glasses.
I want to expand on what Bill said. I mean, all the signals aren't the same. You know, when the top signals, when they're shown, they look beautiful, but we still have some of the signals that look like it's still the 1970s.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then that signal gets.
Michael, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Oak Grove has high def, does it?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I thought you knew all about Oak Grove. I thought that was your beat.
I don't know everything.
Well, you watch the races there.
I do.
It's
Doesn't look
daytime
high
though.
def to me.
It's daytime racing too. That makes a difference.
Yeah, maybe, but it still doesn't look high def.
I'll tell you another thing about. I don't know if you guys will all agree, but the Meadowlands, they've got that cinder trap rock racing racetrack, and Mohawk has a very dark surface, and the horses just look beautiful against the dark surface.
Absolutely.
When you've got all these tracks going with this limestone
Oak Grove
surface,
white.
And the tracks, the horses against the white surface, it doesn't look right.
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I know that the trap rock surface of Meadowlands is incredibly expensive, but if you're looking for how the horses look on the track, I mean, that's why they look so great on the track.
So now what's funny, I met Bobby Weiss, who they have a few series for. He did the track for years at Pocono. Everybody thinks the track at Pocono is red because it's clay. Well, it isn't. That the stone that they get comes out of those mountains in that color. And that's what he told me.
Well, the blacktop is not blacktop; it's red top on the way up.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the what do they call it? Bluestone too, right? It comes from Pennsylvania, but that's all red up that way. But here, Michael, they don't have trap rock at the Meadowlands. We have it here. Trap rock is what they make runways with. So it's very, very hard and it's magnetic. So if you got a magnet a necklace around your neck, you get all kinds of dirt on it when you come in from racing. But you talk about expense. The Meadowlands gets their dirt for the racetrack in Ringwood, New Jersey, which is about 22 miles from there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here we get our track rock from Peterborough, which is 3 hours away.
Really?
So can you imagine the trucking expense?
Yeah, and how much material it takes to do a 7/8 mile or mile track.
Yeah. Oh, every day. So they're out there putting it on almost every day. They put a little bit on. So I said I brought some from the Meadowlands home. I went to Dufferin around here to the quarry places, showed it to them. Yeah, we got that. We got it in Aberfoyle. So Aberfoyle is from the Meadowlands, from Mohawk to Aberfoyle is 12 miles. But they still elect to use the stuff from Peterborough for whatever reason. I have no idea. But they refuse to change, and they can get the dark stuff here. And they refuse to change. So their budget, they get a budget X amount, 250,000 a year, 150, whatever it is for material. 1 year they used it up in 3 months.
Yeah.
But getting back to the production, when you're trying to do a white balance on your cameras against a white surface, it's incredibly difficult with a moving camera.
Where I really notice it, Oak Grove.
Yeah, that's because they got limestone. Limestone, we have it here in a couple places. Limestone, the problem with limestone is very soft, really soft, right? Granite's the hardest and limestone's the softest. So the horses break it down very, very quickly, right? And then when it rains, it turns to baby shit, right? It's slippery, it's muddy, you can't do nothing with it, you can't seal it up, and you punch through it. It's just horrible. But some places still like to use it, which is fine. But here, they don't do that here, and they do a very good job of keeping the track.
Absolutely. I used to stand there the end of the night when I was at Mohawk and they'd shut the track down, and the color was just beautiful. Yeah. You know what? Can I interrupt here just because people are asking some questions? Can we grab a few, Larry? Can I? Because I told the people if they asked the questions, we'd answer them. Can I do that?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because my picture froze about an hour ago. So my picture's there. I can hear you.
Larry, I just thought you were in deep in thought.
Listen, you got a TV face anyway. You're a handsome guy, so we don't mind looking at you like that.
Let's start. I'll answer some of the questions.
You guys take over. Go ahead.
We had Secretariat, 16 wins, 3 places, 1/3. What else? Michael about Tony Morgan in the needles and syringes found. That was in 1994. So that would be inappropriate. I understand why you'd ask that, Eric, but not something that we could answer. You'd have to ask somebody who knew more about it.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
About Tony Morgan getting suspension for many needles and syringes in 1994. It's not something that we can get into. No. What else I got here? Oh, that was great when Albatross was beaten by Nanzaman with Hervé. That was great. What else?
For who?
Ask Baffert
was it
about
great for?
down horses. I know a lot of them broke down, but I've been at his place in that, and I know his veterinarian Vince Baker since 1998 when I went to the Derby with him, and I can tell you one thing: they're not trying to, to break horses down. I can tell you that.
Whose place he go? Who's
we talked about Baffert.
Oh yeah.
What else? There's some good stuff. Larry won the cane pace with a maiden, never questioned his training. Name another trainer who did that. My dad told me some of the races were run, outcome predetermined, too bad. Freddie's dad, great driver too. So that was nice. But the races being predetermined, I can't see that many guys.
Billy, you ever been in a race that's predetermined?
Me?
Not to the extent that you're talking about. What else have we got here? Monticello is still alive. Big Gambler rebates. What else have we got here? I just want to see stuff that's kind of. These fellows are trying to revive harness racing. I love the sport, but I'm a regular at Yonkers in the winter. During the week, you have 50 hardcore horse players there, and you're right about that. Yeah. That's what somebody asked. How did they get a deal for 3 years? Well, you'd have to ask Joe Feraldo that. We wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, though. I mean,
I just saw a thing today that Yonkers, they're pushed on to the next step. Yonkers and sounds like Aqueduct, right?
Well, they'll be able to open quicker, and that's a big asset. State needs money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sports racing really put a nail in the horse racing coffin. There are a lot of people who think that in New Jersey for sure. So I'm not going to dispute it. It did help.
We can see it here big. Yeah. There's only so much for the gaming dollar, right? So it's spread.
Baby boomers are almost gone. Then you can shut the lights out for good.
I don't believe any of that. I just think there's going to be less tracks that make it.
Exactly.
Chris Coyle, we have to teach young people how to handicap. We got to teach him, and his brother might have had the record. Chris Coyle's brother said they're at the Jug and the Jugette, and what do they have? 40-some races, and the brother bet every race. Not only that, he'd get up from the table, walk down the machine. We need more of him at the track, but that's what we got to recreate. Young people like that.
They got money, yes, sir.
Yeah. What else have we got here? Young people made 25 races for a 4 to 5 trotter. Yeah, I get that. Let me see. Quarterback.
I keep coming back to this, and this is the number one thing for harness racing to figure out how we can generate payouts. And there's a plethora of ways you can try and do that, but in the direction that we are going, if we can't fix that we're headed towards 47, 48% favorites, we need to have all new bets because
that's bad.
Well, here ours has to be, the criminal code has to change to get any kind of like the bets they have in England and stuff like that, and they're so reluctant to do that we tried to get them to do it when we were going through this whole losing the slots and whatnot, right? And they said, well, we'll put that on hold and we'll come back with it again because it already had gone through the parliament and got defeated. And that was 8 years before that. So now that's about 20 now, right? So it's time to come back. And they have the lobbyists are trying to get that back. And it's federal here too, right? So it's just CPMA runs the whole country. But the problem there is they're in Ottawa. They don't know much about racing either, right?
Billy Christie wants to know, is that you with practice behind there?
With the sulky on?
Over your right shoulder, yeah.
No, that's Genghis Khan.
Okay, yeah, if I could see the white boots, there we go.
Eddie Cobb horse.
Yeah,
Yeah, if we could see the white felt knee boots, we know it was him.
Eddie, when he came back from California, Shelley was racing him out there, and he won every start, I think, out there. But anyway, Shelley wasn't coming back for the winter, so he recommended Eddie to get me. So anyway, Shelley wasn't coming, so he said, do you want to race Genghis? Yeah. So okay, we got to go to lunch with Eddie, and as anybody knew Eddie, they were quite long, those lunches, right? So we go to Nico 17. He said, now before we start, I just want you to know one thing. You're not my first choice.
That sounds like Eddie.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm glad he got down to the third one anyway. So.
Oh, the owner there, he owned a restaurant too, didn't he?
No, you know what they owned? They owned all the concessions at Yankee Stadium.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I remember them. So
thanks, people. By the way, for the questions, it's hard to get to them all. I tried to get the most, but keep coming because it's getting to be. I like your participation. We thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this makes part of Larry's show spectacular. Is the questions that come in. We have the audience and the fans asking questions, and they're answered.
But for a while, what they were doing, they were socializing with one another.
Yeah.
So it's nice that what they're doing. When we asked them, they all came online.
Well, I have a question for all of you.
Yeah.
When did trotting hobbles become acceptable to use? And was it possible that they could have been used earlier, but people didn't want to use them?
Well, I can tell you that. My uncle
were around.
Yeah. My uncle had a horse called Big Boy, and Ed Haley owned him. I don't know if you guys know Mary McDonald, her father, and he sent the horse to him to race. He bought him out of Ohio, like the Delaware sale, say, right? So he sent his pair of trotting hobbles. They were great big leather hobbles, and Larry might remember those. And it had a great big swivel. And it was
Did they have that wooden thing in the middle?
Yeah, the wooden swivel, and it had a tow rope. Basically, not a sash cord. It had a tow rope. And so I was just a kid. So we would race the horse and we'd race at the barn. So Art would score the horse. I'd go out on the track and grab the horse, and he would get off and untie the hobbles and wrap it around the seat 3 or 4 times, put a half hitch in it, and sit on him. But I could look him up. His name was Big Boy. He probably had a record around 215, maybe, right? But he used to hit his shins. 50. I was in grade 5 because I was there, so I'd be 10 years old. 58.
Dad said Warren Lewis in Sydney had one with the trotting hobbles on.
Yeah, well,
in the 50s. But if I can quickly, who really made them famous was not Carl Allen. Ken Shan before that wore them. Alir Pino in the Maritimes. They started at the Atlantic Sire Stakes around 1972, I think, and we bought the leading trotter. He had a record. Dr. E.L. was named 3-year-old record 2:12-4, and you had to screw them into those hobbles.
Yeah.
And one day in PEI, Joe McDowell, Greg's son, was driving. They snapped right into it. He finished second. He never noticed it. But some of them, they really need them. And now there are several kinds. But Carl Allen, certainly with CRK Susie, made them famous because she was quite a famous trotter. There's no doubt about it. But, I mean, I can tell you this. You hear guys, if they got them sound, or if they got them shod right. Really? Well, you can do all of the above. And then some, I'll tell you what, you can put any kind of shoe on. They'll take right to them, and away you go. I've had them. You wouldn't even have to score them down. You could go out, you could put them on, go out the post break and go and race. Not like a pacing hobble where you'd have to break them in. They're quite an invention. There's no doubt about it. Now, and we're going from one extreme to the other. We're going to trotting hobbles, and then we have no shoes with the Europeans. So there's two big differences there.
We also had elbow boots too. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you see the odd pair now that Ari Ferrari J. That's a pretty good Waller that Tony Alumni has. I see he wears them, but they're pretty infrequent. The famous ones were Speedy Scott, SJ's Photo wore them. But Speedy Scott, because he had the fleece ones that Billy and I know that Jimmy Orvendorf redid, for Speedy Scott. They were the famous elbow boots. There's no.
Well, David took them off SJ's photo when he was 4, because he was going to Sweden with them, right? And he raced them without them, and that's when he was really good. But getting back to racing, you said before there, Larry won the cane pace with a maiden. And I don't know if he was a maiden or not at the time, but then everybody, just a guy called me the other day, go, "Oh, did you ever see the race from the Delaware?" And I said, "Yeah, I was standing right on the fence actually." And he said, "Well, Jimmy caused a wreck." I said, "No, he didn't. No, he did not. Benny Webster caused a wreck," and Larry would attest to this. That Benny put an objection in against Jimmy at Yonkers, and he was crowding him a little bit. But what are you going to do? You got to let him go, right? And I was in that race, so we go to the Jug. So the second heat, Jimmy leaves out of there, and not that he had the choice anyway. And so Benny was either going to have to let him go or stuff him in the 2-hole. And the 2-hole was wide open. So Jimmy's going in the 2-hole. Just about the time Jimmy was 3/4 away in there, Benny started to back up. That's my take on it all. And Jimmy put his foot through the wheel. And nothing he could do. And that was a big, strong horse. I raced him some too, that Wildwood Jeb. And so
Larry's still deep in thought here. Freddie, you're right.
He knows. He knows. He knows.
Very deep in thought. Look,
is he? Well, anyway.
I've said to him, Bill, every week, like, he's such an interesting guy. He's got about 5 different projects on, at his age. But I'll tell you what, like, he just makes you want to talk. He just makes you want to please him. I'll tell you what, if he calls me and says, absolutely, because he just.
Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you something.
I told him.
I'm going to break all the rules here. I'm going to tell you something.
Again?
I'm going to tell you something. And we had a big dinner. Benny was there with me, and we were talking. Benny had a few drinks. I don't drink, but Benny says to me, "You want to tell him about that incident at the Jug?" And there's a whole lot more to it. I'm going to tell you now, and they say don't talk bad about the dead, and this is not really bad, but it's something that came up, and that and I'm going to tell you about it now. After when Wildwood Jeb won the Jug, won the cane pace, Morty Finder came up to me, and he was very friendly with Dave Handel and Dave's friend, and they offered. Dave says that he'll give him $3 million to stand him at stud at Pine Hollow Stud. So Aaron Wagman, Dave's good friend, owned Wildwood Jeb.
Yeah.
When we won the cane, Aaron gave. Well, first of all, I had. In fact, I'll just go back a little bit, and then I'll try to make this real quick because you guys are too interesting. But I'll try to make this real quick. I bought a horse from Davey. Davey Handel brought Aaron to me, and Davey was a good friend and a gambler just as bad as I was back in them days on sports. And every weekend he'd lose 50,000, 100,000, 150,000. It was the same situation like I was in. So, but Davey bought all the horses for Aaron, and the windup was he bought maybe $1 million or $2 million worth of horses that probably cost him $100,000, maybe $200,000. One of the horses he bought was a Canadian horse, and I asked Billy to come up to qualify him. He was a very fast horse, but he was just all wound up, and I don't know. Anyway, Billy came up to qualify him. I forgot Brett's Advantage, I think his name was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
I remember that.
And Billy came up to, and I think he made a break or something. But anyway, I had Davey bought a bunch of horses that really weren't worth the money, and I had no place to put them. I had to get drivers for them, but I knew they weren't good enough to ask. But Davey convinced Aaron to put them in all these stakes and everything. Anyway, he buys Wildwood Jeb. Wildwood Jeb was such a bad bleeder that when we walked him from the barn he was into my barn, he bled. That's how bad he was. I mean, he was just a bad bleeder. I don't know if he was a maiden or not. I think I said he was. I have no idea. All I know is
I don't think
he was. He could. I have no
Billy
idea.
could tell you. Was Wildwood Jeb a maiden when he won the cane? Can you find out?
No, I don't think he was, but he might have been.
Can you find out on Tracker or whatever?
I'm trying to get on my my computer here right now. I moved it because I had a hearing.
No, when we have these,
let me finish the story while this up. So now I tell Aaron the horse is training really good, and I'm training him with up in Monticello with Brett's Advantage, who was a fast horse, and Davey paid $300,000 for him. I don't know what the right price was, but that's what the money I sent up was $300,000 to somebody in Canada. But he was fast. He was a fast horse, and Wildwood Jeb would cut the mile for him, no matter how fast we went in Monticello on a half-mile track, and beat him. Wildwood Brett's Advantage could never get by him. I convinced Aaron, and the reason I don't know that much about Wildwood Jeb was because I was more concerned about getting him so I could race him without him bleeding his guts out and dying on the racetrack. That was my main concern. But as I was doing all of them things and patching a couple of problems that he had, like he used to run down really bad, fixing all of that, I was training him. He was coming along good. I convinced Aaron to put up $25,000 to supplement him to the cane pace. All right. Now, in the cane pace, all three of us, me, Aaron, and Davey, we're the only three that know about Wildwood Jeb. And Aaron says, I'll put up the 25, but you think he could beat the best 3-year-olds in the country? And I said, yes. So he puts up the money. The first heat, we bet 1,000 each on him, and he wins the first heat. We each won about 40,000 for that. Then we said we were going to bet the next race, which we did. We bet the final, and we won. So we won about 70,000 each betting on him when he won the cane pace. Lou Guida and Morty finally comes up to Davey. They were friends, and he says, "I'll give you $3 million for him if he wins the jug." Now that same night, we go out to dinner, and Aaron gives me and Davey a third of the horse each. Aaron had a lot of money. He didn't need the money. He just liked the action. He just wanted the action. He didn't care. He got more of a kick out of spending $500,000 for a horse and bet 2,000 on him and winning the bet. He didn't care about the money. So anyway, now we win. We got a third of the horse, and me and Davey, and now he's in. Now if we win the jug, Morty's going to give us $3 million, of which I'm going to get $1 million. So now and I don't know if Billy will remember this or not, but this is what happened. Jimmy wouldn't go up to Scioto. They had the jug preview, I think, at Scioto or something, and he was racing against aged horses. And Jimmy didn't want to go up there. I didn't want to go up there and drive him because I'm racing a 3-year-old against aged horses. I don't know what horses are up there, and I don't want to blow the $3 million. I don't know if he'd still give me the money. I didn't know. I didn't want to take the chance, but nobody would go. I go. I win the race. I win the jug preview up there at Scioto. Now the race comes. Now we're at the jug in Delaware, Ohio, and it's just about post time. I'm scoring the horse down because Jimmy's not there yet. Then all of a sudden we're going to go behind the gate, and this is where I don't know if Billy heard or if he knows it, but this is really what happened. Now I'm the driver of the horse in the jug. And the starter says, "Take a turn, boys. Larry, Rolla, go back to the paddock." Who's standing there? Jimmy Marone. And he's standing there, and he looks a little wobbly and everything, but he's there. And he's there, and he has his colors on. And the judges let him race without getting licensed first. They allowed all of that, and we put him on a bike. And I says, "Jimmy, you remember everything I told you about this horse? You can't hit him with a whip. You can't hit him with a whip." He says, "Yeah, I know. And he didn't look quite right to me. I think whatever. Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
now the first heat goes on, and he's in front. And I told him, I says, whatever you do, and he knew this in the cane. He knew this. You can't hit this horse with a whip because he'll curl right up on you. He'll go right over there. He'll curl right up on you. So I says, just keep the whip under your arm. So anyway, we're down the stretch, because what Wildwood Jeb would do would let you get halfway up. He wore cheek pieces. So as soon as he could see you, he wouldn't let you go by him. So now I hope we didn't lose Billy.
Oh no, I'm here. I'm still here.
So anyway, now, because I wanted him to hear what I'm going to say. So now he comes back halfway down the street. He's got 20, 30 feet from the wire, the first heat, the eliminations, and here comes Fan Hanover. And and Jimmy just cracks him with the whip. Well, and sure enough, he curled up and he got beat. Okay, but he got beat. He's in the final. He draws the 2-hole. But when he hit him, the snapper hit that, that big artery that runs down the back leg, on the inside of the back leg, that big thick vein or whatever it is.
Yeah.
He breaks that, and the horse is bleeding like crazy. Now here's a big, gigantic 3-year-old just come off a race, huffing and puffing, kicking and going crazy, and he's bleeding like crazy, and nobody can get near him to stop him. I mean, he'd kick you. I asked the groom, I says, go get one of the vendors to get you some ice to so I could try to hold it on him, do something. Anyway, no vendor would give us ice because it was very hot and everything. Okay. So now I must have got kicked 50 times that afternoon, but I slowed down the bleeding enough. Meantime, what I was supposed to do was this was a plan. I was supposed to go see Benny Webster, who was on Seahawk, and I was supposed to tell him, and Seahawk wasn't the soundest horse, and I didn't think that he was going to park me, but I says the plan was I was going to go to Benny and say, Benny, listen. There's $300,000 cash, and we had it in the envelope. We already had it. We already had the money. It's in a brown vanilla envelope. Here's $300,000 cash. Just let him go before the quarter pole, because I'm going to tell Jimmy, don't take no 2-hole, because if you take a 2-hole, you're only going to have to come out at the half, and then you won't win. First of all, I don't know if you're going to be able to take him back to get in the 2-hole, because he'll run right over you. I says, stay in the 2-lane position, and he'll have to let you go. So this is what I'm going to tell him, Benny. So here's $300,000, Benny. Just let him go before the quarter pole. And if you could beat him after that, beat him. But just let him go, because if you don't let him go, he's going to take you to the half in 57, 50, whatever it is, and you're going to get beat. I'm going to get beat, and everybody's going to, So anyway, because this happened with the horse, I never got a chance to bring the envelope over to Benny. So Benny knew nothing about it. And then what happened, the accident and everything. But Benny, right after the race, naturally when they got in the fight right after that happened, Benny jumped on Jimmy, and then I ran out and I separated them. Skip Lewis wanted to kill Jimmy. But then later on, because I used to meet Benny a lot. We used to go out a lot. And I told Benny that story. And I says, you don't mind if I tell that story around? And he says, no, but he never got the 300,000. I really believe that if Jimmy showed up the way he was supposed to and kept the whip under his arm, I really believe that, I would have gotten the rail, and Seahawk would have gotten the 2-hole. He would have sat in the 2-hole. Fan Hanover would have been back, and I really believe that I would have won the jug, and I really would have believed $1 million.
I was.
Yeah.
If you want
Okay, so anyway,
a
that's
couple more.
my story.
It's a
Yeah,
good
a couple
story.
more. We got to get to these people. Let me get to
Go
these
ahead.
people here. We're saying things. We promised them that we would take care of them if they say something. Let me see. Oh, speaking of the trotting hobbles, Chris Coyle is right on that. Dewey Cheatham and Hal came along. And then, of course, Chapter 7, who's a phenomenal sire who people thought wouldn't be a sire because of the trotting hobbles. But I'll tell you what, with him and Muscle Hill, I'm objective. It'd be a toss-up because this Chapter 7 is really something as well. Imagine the two sires that we came up with. Excuse me. Ken Middleton didn't retire. He got hurt, right, Billy?
Yeah. I don't know if he retired now. I don't know. Yeah. He he got hurt training a
Wildwood
horse.
Jeb, David says was in fact a maiden. Well, and then somebody says they looked it up. Howard says Morty Finder was my dad's close friend at a private window at the track. Rich as can be. Yeah, he bet a lot of money, that's for sure. What else have we got here? Larry had $3,000 bills in an envelope. Okay. $3,100 bills in his. Okay. What else have we got here? Just want to make sure that there's stuff. Question for Michael. Sorry. Does Penn National still have the handicapping tournament? Somebody's asking.
I really don't know. I'll try and find out. I will inquire. Everything's been eclipsed by the national tournament where it's $1 million for first.
Right.
And that's why I think we should have
another one who became a pretty good sire too with the trotting hobbles. Here Comes Herbie did some good. He had that the Verlin Yoder horse, and I talk about trotting hobbles. But now, as they say that you'd wonder what you would do without them. What else?
Billy, if we even did 1/10, if we even had 1/10 of the thoroughbreds, $100,000 tournament, they would come out of the woodwork to play.
We could do that. And like you said,
Bob
like
says I'm near Pompano. They just tore it down. Place was packed. I didn't know they tore it down.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, what a shame, huh?
Yeah.
Well, there's no winter racing now.
No, and never going to be again. They can't. They don't even have dates. They gave the dates up and everything there, right?
Yep. Can't put Humpty Dumpty back together again in Florida.
No, done.
Gone.
All done.
Howard Lieberman says, Greg, when I said predetermined, sad but game on life support. We could say that, but it's really not, because you wait till the yearling sales hit next week. You'll say, well, they can't be, because they'll go for a ton, because the perception is reality. They have all the gaming money with Kentucky, and everybody's moving down that way. Can't mark
Billy, you going down to Lexington?
I might. I'm still in that boot, that air boot, and I can't walk. I can walk, but I got arrested every so often. The doctor said when I feel pain, sit down and just get it up in the air. So I've been doing that lately, and it's really helping. So it's a lot of walking at Fazzy Tipton. I told Brandon I'd go with him. If he need to bring a load of horses back, I could do that for him. I don't want to stay for a week or nothing, right? So I might.
If you do get down, you catch up with Gordon Banks and Rick Burke.
Yeah,
they got some interesting stuff going on. So
yeah, I saw that.
Sales were way up, fellas, and perception is that a lot of it was the bonus depreciation that we were talking about on Freddie's show and on Larry's show 2 months ago. That actually is a big driver of getting people to spend more money.
Right.
What's that, Michael? What's getting them to spend more money?
There's a when they signed the federal bill, in that was 100% bonus depreciation for people that buy horses. So you would be able to depreciate the horse immediately.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that was given as the major driver for the increase in the thoroughbred sales. Significant increase. think they had 52 horses sell for $1 million.
Saw that, yeah.
And then Andy Barr's put a bill in there, which should be coming up pretty soon, which is going to be for the gamblers, where they're going to reverse that thing that they had put up there before, where they couldn't depreciate it. So that should be reversed probably by the end of the year or so.
Can only hope.
David Rithier has I hope I pronounced it right, has a good say. He says, stop comparing flats and harnesses, apples and oranges. True.
Okay, now
So what are you looking up here?
I finally get on.
Billy's froze too.
Uh-oh.
I think Billy froze when he moved something, whatever he did. Are we all okay besides Billy?
I'm all right.
Yeah.
I am.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Oh no, you're Larry. Again, you're so deep in thought. This is unbelievable.
I could get out of it. This happened to me the other night. You know what I did?
Well, can you stop it?
I blocked out. I could do this. I could take the show right off for like 2 seconds and then come right back. Do it.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right. If I screw up,
we need you on the show. It's your show.
All right. Let me
see on the trunk, as they say.
Let me see what happens. I'm gonna try it.
Uh-oh. Don't try anything. You just lost Billy.
No. Billy was lost before.
We'll get it all back.
Changes. Leave.
Oh, now we lost Larry. It's just the three of us now.
Yeah, but he'll come back. He'll come back.
But hey, Michael, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was you see with the thoroughbreds how they're bringing in the younger audience.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we do that with harness racing?
Because nobody has the vision to do it. I mean,
Okay.
I think you get to a point where it's like you're a restaurant or a bar that's struggling, and you've lost your customers. Well, now you have to do something out of the ordinary to get those customers back. Whether it's lower your prices, whatever it is. That's the point we're at. So our food and beverage has to be more appealing. Maybe our promotions have to be better.
But things change, Michael. Look at Toys R Us.
You
Can
know,
you believe that's gone?
Yeah.
the other,
Toys R Us gone.
I trained horses
I'm
for.
serious.
You know what?
Never.
can you hear me?
What's that?
Okay. I trained horses for a guy named Tony Basilio. He owned the restaurant Mimos.
Can you hear me?
Billy, you probably remember Mimos right across the street from Roosevelt. And Larry, you probably remember it. But one of the things that Tony told me, he took the restaurant over from his brother. His brother was named Mimos. And Tony kept the restaurant. It was the same name. Under his brother Mimos, the place was dead. He couldn't get anyone into the place. Tony took it over. He redid the place. He changed the menu around. He hired a great chef, and it became one of the most successful Italian restaurants on Long Island. This is what needs to be done as a makeover for the sport of harness racing. You just have to have the vision, and you have to basically go in that direction. And nobody seems to want to go in that direction. So anyhow.
All right. Well, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
We lost that serious thought look. Now we just have this little
I'm
circle here.
not gonna mess with it no more. But I did it the other night. I'm not gonna screw with it no more.
Michael, have you been to the races in Vincennes or any of these places?
I have not.
It was real.
I do have my program here.
Okay, we got Billy back.
Yeah, I'm back on the phone. I was on the computer.
Yeah.
I was on this all day yesterday too, but the camera's working now because I got an external camera. I scratched my lens or something. Hey?
What is that you put up, Michael?
That is the official program for the Prix de Marique.
Okay.
I know it's inverted on your screen. However, I will tell you that the first race went at 11:55, and the last race went at 6:40. So it took them 6 hours and 45 minutes to run 11 races.
Yeah.
And they handle a lot more than any American track.
So you know what they do over there, Michael? I was over there, and my kid went to school in Barcelona, so I went over there and we went to the track and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, and we were in France, in Nice, France, and it was the simulcast area. It was right on the Mediterranean, beautiful little restaurant. And they don't go by race 1, 2, 3, 4. They go by time, and they're pretty accurate. So say the 3:40, we're sitting there having lunch, and they have a real fancy dining room off to the right, and they have 2 TVs at the end and 2 TVs at either end where you're looking at it, people looking, and sitting in the table. So they only simulcast 2 race tracks, like two thoroughbred tracks and 2 standardbred tracks at one time. Then they take will naturally get more handle, and then they share it to all those other tracks. And if I'm not mistaken, there's like 250 some tracks in France. Is that right?
Yeah,
there's a lot.
Maybe 100 and some. I forget.
Whatever, but there was a tremendous amount. Yeah. So anyway, that's what they do. I mean, they share, revenue sharing. So it was a stake race, in a say the race was say 3:45. So at 3:40, you see people coming out of their stores and locking their doors, coming over, and they're sitting at the table with us with their lunch, and guys working out on the street with a backhoe, and they come in, they're eating their lunch at the table, and then the race goes off, and they all leave and go back to their stores. But they know every 20 minutes or 25 minutes, whatever it is, that they show up.
Well, at Vincennes, they have one of the races is actually plugged in through the lottery. And on that particular race, the win pool, I believe the Omni pool, which is like a triple quinella, which is does about $500,000.
We have that here. It's called
the Swinger.
Yeah, Swinger. They bet. I was asking about that today at the meeting. That Klaus was there, right? And I said, "What about this Swinger thing?" And he said, "Well, that's my baby." And he said it's going to stay around a while, because I said, was that a pilot project? It's been there 2 years, and there's no pool, and there's no money in the pool sometimes. So they said, "Well, our novice bettors like it." I go, "Well, you don't have too many novice bettors, because I'm looking at one from Monday night. It was $317 in there. I mean, how ridiculous is that they're doing it? Same as the dark horse, right? That never went over. So they said it really goes big in the UK and France and Europe. Maybe we'll catch on here. Who knows? Well,
the reason it's big there is they have 13, 14 horse fields. Yeah. Like at Ascot, there was a race at Ascot, I swear, where the Omni pool was $3 million.
Yeah.
And the superfecta pool was $6,000.
Yeah, isn't that something, eh?
Well, because
what is it?
It's a triple quinella. In other words, you have to, if you bet a 1-2 Swinger or Omni, both those horses have to hit the board. So in every race, there's 3 payouts. If it comes in 1, 2, 3, there's a payout for 1, 2, there's a payout for 1, 3, and there's a payout for 2, 3. It's like a quinella.
Yeah.
But the only difference is they don't have to finish 1, 2. They just have to hit the board. And when you have a lot of horses, it's a great bet. It's probably the most popular bet in Hong Kong, Europe, at Ascot.
Yeah. That's what they said today. I wasn't aware of that. I know at Ascot they were talking about it. We were at the baby race one morning, and they were talking about how much money was in it that day. They were watching Ascot on the phone or something, right? So
yeah, it's not just Woodbine, because Arlington tried it and it was a complete bust.
Yeah.
And every track that's tried it in the States, it just doesn't work because there's not enough horses.
Yeah, well, that would do it. Yeah.
You don't want to go to the horseman's meeting, Bill, and talk them into a 16-horse field for the Swinger?
I would do that in a heartbeat. And you know what? And they're so afraid of trying anything a lot of times. And I said, you know what? nobody likes change. Change is a bad word, but they complain. The complainers, whoever's going to complain, they only do it for 2 weeks and it's done, or you never hear it again. So whenever something comes along new, the thing they're complaining about is gone, right? So it's a new thing. So yeah, if you try, we do 12 horse fields for the hi-fi, right? And that was a big bone of contention for a while. Now you just give them extra money, and they all get money. So you don't
When they
really have
first
many
when they
complaints.
first brought that bet to Canada and they paid it out, I did the original story from the States, and I said they did it on the day where there was the Wood Memorial and the Santa Anita Derby, and I said the Wood Memorial and the Santa Anita Derby, but the biggest pool isn't going to be in $1 million race in the States. The
Right.
biggest pool in a horse race is going to be on a $35,000 claimer at Mohawk tonight.
Yeah,
I said I guarantee it, and I think when you put in the carryovers, 3.5 million.
yeah, it was a big one. Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, this is how you generate, interest.
Yeah. And I said with that high five, let it go. Just let it keep going. You don't have to have a payout. It's not going to
Yeah.
jump two,
I
three,
agree.
400,000. Let it go 60,000 or 15 or whatever it does a night. It eventually, because very seldom does it get hit. It did before the North America Cup for, I forget what, 189,000 somebody hit it for. It happens once in a while. Just let it roll. Let it roll. Let it roll.
They also need some other bet like it that can generate a payout. Now they used to have a pick 7. A couple times it got to $1 million. What they need, not just them, what they need is a bet like that, where people go, well, this card doesn't look that great, but it is a $400,000 carryover, so now
Yeah.
I have to go. So
Well, with the pick 6, we got a pick 6 there now, right? So you have a pick 6, only instead of 20 cents, $1. So you have a
Yeah.
kiosk right there when you walk in. They can a quick pick. Everybody would do that. I do it. I buy 2 lottery tickets every week. One for $5, one for $3, $8. So
Mhm.
about 3 times a year, I win $10. But I still keep doing it, and
Mhm.
I'm going to keep doing it because might be my turn someday. You
Right.
can't win unless you're in them.
You're right, 100%.
Yeah.
If you don't have action, Bill, nothing can happen.
No. I bet too. Like I bet the horses. I bet Notre Dame every week for because that when I was a kid, that's the only thing that was on TV because we had 3 stations back in those days. And Notre Dame had the 50-year contract, and they still got another one, I think, with NBC. And I bet them every week, and I bet my lottery once a week. So it's hard to control it sometimes too, right? So
Well, that's what we're missing, and we need to bring back that allure that used to be. Well, you go back to the 70s, you had the twin try, you had all kinds of things that could generate interest on any particular night.
yeah, no, exactly.
Well, the big one was back in the 60s, the twin double. That was the big one. That was the one that really had all types of action going on. You had to buy 2 tickets and then you got to buy 2 tickets. Then if you won, you were able to buy more tickets. I forget the way that worked.
Oh,
And
I can tell you how the way it
people
worked.
were out there trying to buy those tickets. They were trading tickets and everything.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
can tell you the way it worked in the States. If you hit the first exchange, you exchanged it, and the mobsters tried to buy it from you.
yeah.
Right. Yep.
So there was an incredible amount of interest in that wager, and we can't get the tow companies to recreate those bets because we can't teach the Sam machine how to pay you $50 and still give you $50 in exchange tickets.
Yeah. And that's the thing, they don't want to exchange the tickets, right? But we had twin
Hong
try
Kong handles
twin
25 million a day.
yeah, we had a twin
UK
trifecta
money laundering outlet.
in Foxborough. We had
Documentary
it,
drug
and that got really big too, right? And then we had it at the Meadowlands too. There were 6, 7, $800,000 nights there too, right?
Oh, there was a $1 million pick 6 there.
Yeah. But pick 6, I think is, all these things, they're really hard to hit, but people like them. And they said, well, and I said, big pools grow big pools. Very simple, right? I remember when first lottery they had in Canada, and I remember my mom going, "What are they doing? Wasting taxpayers' money for that?" Blah blah blah. All that stuff. So they guaranteed it at 500,000. The first one, first draw, it was $1,000,001. That was the end of my mother complaining about that, right? So anyway, she goes, "What a waste of money that is! That taxpayers' money," which it wasn't anyway. But anyway,
To answer the guy's question on the bottom, they bet more like 100 million a day, but Hong Kong only races twice a week. They race on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you got to be there. No,
Is that what you call Happy Valley?
Jimmy Petroselli's owner was a buyer for Kmart, and that's where he went over there a couple times a year, right? And they had, and Kmart had a box at Hong Kong, and they could only get it 2 days a year, and you had to be there. They put the flag up when the place is full, whatever it holds, 50,000 or whatever it was,
Right.
and the flag is up to tell everybody that the place is full, and it's up at 9 o'clock in the morning in Hong Kong.
And one of the tracks is exactly in the center of Hong Kong,
Yeah.
surrounded by buildings.
And the Japan is in where they dropped the bomb, right? Akasagi or something, one of those places.
Well, there's several tracks. So Kyoto, there's tracks in South Korea. I mean, just everywhere.
Yeah, they just like you said, they don't race much, but they race for decent money and they bet like hell, right? They bet big. So.
Well, I turn on RTN in the morning, and you get to see Italian harness racing, French harness racing on
we
RTN.
We don't
and
get
at night. You get to see Australian harness racing.
All right, here I am again now. I'm back on the TV. Here I am again now. I'm back on the TV. Again now. I'm back on the TV.
Okay.
All right, they keep going, right?
I can hear you. We can hear you. I'm picturing Larry trying to escape out of a box like Houdini.
I'm sitting here listening. I'm not going to fool around with it. I'm not going to fool around with it.
Greg, you now look like the person that's in deep thought. Your head.
No, here's what I'm looking at. With Hong Kong. Okay, here's about Hong Kong. Total attendance across all race course meeting was about 1.717 million people over 88 meetings. That yields an average of about 19,500 people per meeting. For Sha Tin race course specifically, average attendance per meeting was about 22,900. For Happy Valley, the total season attendance was 548,000 over a meeting, which gives a lower average per meeting in summer. Oh, behind, yeah.
Yeah,
you got 20,000. About 20,000 people on the average.
There's no gambling on mainland China,
right?
The gambling is in Hong Kong and the gambling is in Macau.
20,000, right? About 20,000 people.
That's a very captive audience.
Yeah, exactly. And they love the bet. I mean, you got a culture there that loves the bet, right?
I was trying to figure out how to say it without getting in trouble, because when you go late night to the casino here, I mean, there's an extraordinary amount of Asian people that are at the casino.
Yeah, and they don't care.
They love to gamble.
They don't care if it's 80-1 or 3-5. They just like to gamble. That's just the way they are.
Love to gamble.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. We've been talking a lot about yesterday. Okay, as I said, much as we love Roosevelt, it's not coming back. It's done. Okay, we'll be.
What do you mean it's not coming back?
Meadowlands, what's that?
I said, what do you mean it's not coming back? No, I'm teasing.
Larry's gonna have to put that card up, Freddie. I know. Yeah. So where we're fortunate again that politicians are continuing to pass legislation that funds us. Look at Kentucky. Nobody there. But there's Larry put it up for Freddie. There's a big difference between giving
Larry,
up
and
knowing when enough. Yeah. So
I got two more signs. I'm going to
There's
put
some
some more
good
signs
things.
up.
Politics is the art of looking for trouble, finding everywhere, diagnosing, driving. That's true.
There's the last
David
one.
says, point well made, Gregory. It's not coming back. No, what I would say is this, David. It's not coming back to what it was all those years ago. You can forget about that. We're not getting 40,000 at the track. You can forget about that. We know that. It's just not happening. So I don't know why we think that it will when we got to change somehow the business model to make money, I guess.
That's what it is.
Actually, who's making the money now?
Greg,
Are the
it's
horsemen.
not going to come back for the overnight races and the everyday races, but we should be able to promote our major races and get the attendance there. We should be able to bring the crowds in for our major races. Not the overnights. Yeah, forget about the overnights. The overnights, that's a thing of the past. But our major races, we should be able to get the attendance there.
And at least in those days, we need to step up our game.
Freddie, we still
incredibly.
have to get it.
Someone was going to say something.
Well, it's like you have to step up your game on these big days. I mean, it's been proven at the thoroughbreds that people don't mind spending money.
100%.
You know, but give them what they're wanting. What they want is a safe facility where, you know, they can come in and spend an afternoon or an evening. And whether it's better food, better drinks, food trucks, live music, wine tasting, whatever you need to do to get people there to into your facility so that it looks glorious on your big night.
Right.
Yeah.
And you basically on Del Mar for their opening day. They did fantastic.
Yeah, $73.
Saratoga had one of the most successful meets
and somebody just said on there, I think we have to stop comparing ourselves to the thoroughbreds because there really isn't a comparison, and there never has been. People go to the flats.
Well, Freddie, what he says is right. We have to do a downsized version of what the thoroughbreds are doing.
Exactly. They shoot for 25% of what they're doing.
I don't even think that's debatable. You know, we're talking about when Billy talked about the tournament. Don't do $1 million tournament. Nobody's saying do $1 million tournament. Do $100,000 tournament. That's 10%. Don't charge $73. Don't charge $300 to get in on your big events. Charge $20. Charge $30. But do something spectacular, whatever that is.
I'm reading some of these messages over here. And one of the things that is really being pointed out to me is they're saying that we have to change our sport and we have to give our audience something that they want to see. The one guy over here says that you can put lipstick on a pig and it's still called a pig. Well, that should be unacceptable to our business, and we should change that immediately. And we should not be putting out races that are piss poor. And so we have to change that. We have to change. And if you look at just look at Yonkers, they have 8 drivers in to race for the whole card. We should have 30 drivers in racing for the whole card. We need to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, but you can't control that. People are entitled to have whoever they want to drive.
Because if we want to survive, we do have to control it.
Can't control that.
And I think you need to.
Cream rises to the top.
I think you need to just listen. No ideas out of bounds. Just
listen to what your fans are saying, and listen to what they're saying. And you have to follow what your fans are saying. They're the ones that are paying the bills, and they're the ones that are going to continue our survival. And so you have to listen to what they say.
But they're not saying they want 30 drivers.
But you have to figure out. You have to figure out why they're not coming to the track. And to Greg, they had 8 drivers racing at Yonkers for 9 races. 8 drivers. They didn't have 12, 13, 8 drivers for the whole card. What happens if they go down in an accident? You got 4 drivers out, 2 drivers out. Who's going to drive in the rest of the card?
Well, there might have been some trainers
Ben,
that could drive.
see,
I just think
you come from a different generation. Billy, Larry, myself, we come from the fact when the trainers were also driving their own horses, and so that mixes
I grew
it up
up
and
that
it
way.
creates
That's the
more
way it was
drivers.
back in my day. That's the way it was
Billy,
years
I
ago.
know you quit. I know you quit training because you found driving a lot easier, and you didn't have to get up at 7 o'clock in the mornings. You could sleep until 9.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But you also might get your wish, Freddie, when some of these tracks close, because
Well, it was a lot different back then than it is now.
Well, no. I grew up in the trainer driver area. Of course, it kind of wasn't even a question, really.
Yeah, but Greg, you were driving, and they didn't give you any breaks on the racetrack. The other drivers did not give you. They didn't give you any breaks on the track. So,
let me just say this, and then we're going to end because it's I see that Billy's wants to get. Billy needs a rest. You've been working all day.
No, I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Let me say this. I've been listening now for maybe 20 years about what Freddie's trying to do, and I give him a lot of credit because of everybody I know. I don't know one person that tried and is still trying, and as hard as he is to try to get harness racing back to where it was. And in fact, I made that sign. That I just showed before. This one right here.
Don't put that up anymore. That's an embarrassment.
I made that sign for him. But you have to remember, when I was a kid, the whole world went to go see Frank Sinatra, and then as time went by, they didn't go to see Frank Sinatra. They went to see Elvis Presley. Then they went to see the Beatles. Then they went to see rap. Everything changes. It changes, and it changes for a reason. And once it changes, you never buy a restaurant. You never buy a restaurant that goes broke and changes hands once, because they'll always fail. And I've been listening.
Except for Tommy Lucento, by the way, Larry.
Okay.
Tommy Lucento is the only one I know that place was 10 different places. When he took it over, it was a booming business. And when he left, it was no more again.
And the biggest,
I've seen multiple restaurants that when someone came over and managed it properly, they were successful, where the people who managed it previously were not successful. So I don't go with that analogy.
Okay, so eliminate that one analogy, but there's 15 to back it up. Freddie, I love that game. I fucked up, but I love that game. I want it to be as bad as you do. But I've been listening. I think I do 170 podcasts. 160 of them people talked about how you can get them back, and we're still talking about it. And you brought on 4 good guys with real good ideas, and that was a great podcast. And I think something's happening now, because I think they already put together a little plan that you and Michael and these other, I forgot their names, but a lot of these people, and you see there's over 100 comments here, and they're all saying it's all done, it's all done, it's all done. I don't know what you could do to get it back. There's too many obstacles. There's too many things in the way that are stopping it. And I hope you're successful, but I don't know. And I truly believe that if everybody that's on that screen right now gives their honest opinion, they feel the same way. I have no idea how many more. But there was a question on there. about another bet that you could put on. How many bets you going to put on a racetrack? Now pretty soon you'll be putting bets in bitcoins or something.
I got a question for Billy here. Billy, how are things going with Art Gray with the safety line?
I haven't heard anything lately about that. There was that thoroughbred race they put up about the jock, leaving the race to go catch the guy. Other than that, I don't know. There's a lot of those lines out there. Like, I don't know if Artie's talking about that his is the only one. Doug Wilson, he makes one up here in Canada, and it's pretty functional too, right? So it works. And I talked to Doug there. He said that in order to do it, it's a rule up here. It's in the book here, right? You have to have safety lines on, but they don't enforce it. So
how from my perspective as a horseman, how does that work? If you have a bit break, what happens? How does the safety line work if the bit breaks?
Well, first you got your nose band. That's all you got, to hold it. That bit's a little different than a line break. Lines don't break. They come unglued or unhooked because they were never hooked. I only had one line ever break on me that broke between the stitching, where the fine stitching is.
Right.
And it was at the Meadowlands, and it was an outside line, and the horse, just come out of the last turn, and all of a sudden I got it in my lap. So I'm finishing the mile way out in the middle of the track. I almost ran over Deuce. So I'm walking the horse back, and the lady that trained the horse said, "What happened?" I said, "Your tape let go." She said, "I just put that on this morning too," she said.
Oh my God. Oh.
I had a bit break once.
I did too. I did too.
Right behind the gate, and I'm like, and I had fired this son of a bitch up, and I'm getting ready to leave with him. Both lines come back at me. I'm Ronnie and Gracio's on the outside of me. I'm like, Ronnie, what broke? He gets his horse, and he comes up and he says, "You're bit, Freddie. You're bit." Great.
Yeah. Well, with these safety lines, like Artie says, I think a wire, and it hooks around, snaps onto the bit, right? And well, what do you call him? Doug Wilson says he has a sewn in to the line itself where it goes into the bit. So if it's not hooked, it won't bend. And there's a wire in there, and they're pretty soft, right? So if you pull on them. But anyway, either one would work. I think there was 4 or 5 different ones, so I haven't heard anything lately. But here in Ontario, it all they got to do is enforce the rule. You have to have safety lines, period, and they don't do it. And there's some guys use them, some guys don't. Yeah. If you're 2 minutes late for the paddy, they scratch you. But you can race, break a rule like that every time, and nobody seems to want to enforce it. So, good, bad, or indifferent. Yeah. If it's a rule, it's a rule.
Very true.
Yeah, Larry's got something coming out also for sudden death syndromes, and he's probably going to be talking about that pretty soon. So,
right.
Can I talk about the coming events here? Last week we had the Jug, and we talked about the Mohawk doing a big night on Metro and Mohawk Million Night and Gray Racing. Lexington started their Grand Circuit meet. They'll race for the next 2 weeks. They'll also race Friday and Saturday. During the day, 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Central.
Yeah. Saturday
night is Ohio Super Night. A lot of $300,000 and $400,000 races. Also, the Dayton Pacing Derby, the Dayton Trotting Derby. I think those races go for $250,000.
Yeah.
Sylvia Hanover against the Distaff Derby.
Yeah.
And Monday starts to be one of the biggest yearling sales. And obviously, everybody hopes that the yearling sale is highly successful. And we certainly hope that.
Well, they said that, now I don't know, I didn't follow it, but they said the Ohio sale was really good, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Ohio's got all kinds of horses. It's amazing. They run fairs every day.
Yeah. But it's always, historically for the last 60 years, they've bred more horses in Ohio than any state in the union. And I think Ontario might have been close to them, but this is back in the 70s. They were breeding 4,500 mares a year in Ohio. and that was just barely, insemination. Then it was mostly live cover. But and they're buying horses from up here, and they'll buy anything. $6,000 claimers, they don't care. I mean, they're there, they race. I watched them last night. They started at 5:30 or 5:35, and I have to just flash the races on at 11:35, and they had two more races to go. And Ronnie Rinn won that 13th race with just a cheap race, and he was happy to be there. And he just won the Little Brown Jug and the She's a Great Lady. So
Correct.
So they're there to race, and they know it. And when Tom was the head guy there, actually just got inducted in the Hall of Fame this year, and he they couldn't make it, and he signed a contract with them. Remember, they used to race for $2,700 every heat, like a five claimer and an open pacer to keep going until they got the slots. And thank God they did.
Northfield was going for $1,800 a race.
Yeah, for every race, yeah, until they got their casinos.
Now they are?
No, before they got slots.
Before, but in a long time before that too.
I mean, in the 2000s, and even with that signal, Bianconi had them handling $1 million because he understood post times, he understood low takeout, he understood where to put his race, and just he kept them alive long enough to cash in.
Yeah,
it didn't have to end up that way.
Yeah, no, it didn't. He did a good job. I mean, they all did. The guys, the horse people. I know Jerry took a lot of grief over that sign, and it was a 10-year contract too. That's how long they figured it was going to take to get it, and I don't know if it took quite that long, but they hung in there. Those guys, they hung in there. Thank God for them.
Billy, there's a question for you here. A guy, Eric, writes in it says, Mr. O'Donnell, many bettors at Woodbine not happy with starting times at Woodbine on Fridays till 4 p.m. Why the change?
Because they're doing the turf track over the new.
He's talking about the thoroughbreds.
Yeah. So they're doing the turf track over, and they've started, or they're going to start soon, and rebuild it through the winter. And they work between 8 and 4, and they won't race. They can't race the thoroughbreds when they're out there with cranes and all that work stuff. On the outside of the track. So that's the reason why that they're going to start late.
Okay. Now, Eric, you can't say we don't answer any of your questions.
No,
and we'll answer them whether it's true or not. We're going to answer them.
Oh, we'll get to them.
Okay, great point, Michael. Restitution took 25 years. Whatever that word is.
Yeah. No, the business really, we've been talking the same thing for years, but we keep getting new gaming money like Kentucky. So, that really has a spin-off. I'd say we're still okay for a while. Now they talk about places like Chester not doing well, but I can't imagine that they close it.
No,
none
of them are going to close.
Yonkers got 3 more years. That's huge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
to keep that market.
Yeah. 3.5, right? Basically, I mean, half of this year. Yeah. So they're in good shape, really good shape, and I don't know, what their plans are after that, but we'll find out if they get a casino. I think part of it was I heard they're going to close the barn area, right, at Yonkers. I don't know how many horses. That's what I heard. That was part of it.
I didn't hear that, but
I thought the legislation is they have to have horses. They have to have stabling.
I don't know. Is that legislated?
I thought it was. That's why they seem to have it. Because the others all have it: Vernon, Saratoga, Batavia, Buffalo, Yonkers, Monticello. See?
Yeah, they all do. Yeah, all New York. And that's part of the reason why they got lots of horses too. I think not the only reason, but rent here in Ontario to rent at Class C Lane, say it's $500 a month. But you get your shavings and you get your stall, and at most all the others, it's around $400. So you add that into effect, you got a truck and trailer. The first truck and trailer I bought, I gave $3,600 for a brand new truck and $800 for a trailer. The last one I bought, I gave $54,000 for the truck and $23,000 for the trailer.
Yeah.
And I don't think the purses went up that much over a period of 40 years or whatever it was, right?
Can somebody help me? What could it possibly cost to ship a horse 2 hours in a tri-state area with gas, with tolls, with help? Isn't it a pretty exorbitant amount?
Well, if you're paying your groom $100, if you're not driving the truck and one of your grooms there, you're paying him so much to drive the truck. So you're talking from, like, I got a horse with Nifty, right? And I think to go to Yonkers, I think it's 400. So if that's not
Is that round trip, Bill, or just
yeah, round trip, but that's not your groom, and that's not paying whether I don't know if he pays his trucker or not. I have no idea, but but
so if you get 3 starts a month, that's 1,200.
Yeah. Well, no, you're talking six. If you're talking your groom,
it's more than that.
100. That's 100. That's if you race 3 times a month, that's 1,500.
I mean, it's incredibly high. Compared to what it used to be, and tolls.
Well, the tolls, I don't know what it costs to go across George Washington.
The tolls would be included in that figure. So
okay,
yeah, it was just a flat fee of 400. Yeah, for the truck, and I think that was just the trucking up and back. And because we raced our horse in the Brigada there, and so I think that's what it was. So I don't know. You add the groom on there. There's another 100, right? And you got to pay. Then you got to pay workman's comp on top of that, and it's a big expense. Big expense.
Yep. See, Larry, Ronnie from Woodbury should be on tonight talking about the shipping.
Does he? Yeah, Ronnie used to ship a lot of horses from Roosevelt to Yonkers, right?
Is he still doing it, Freddie?
No, I don't think so. I think Woodbury went out of business.
He's still in the shipping. He's still in the shipping business, but not horses.
Right.
Okay. What's he shipping?
He told me, but I forgot.
Okay.
Well, I think that's what they do, right? I mean, there's good money in trucking horses, and
absolutely there is,
and it's like any business. It's hard to collect money, and it's just the way the economy is, right? But anyway, I know my stepson. He's got 4 trucks and he's got 8 trailers. So he's got he's got 4. He's got 2 2,500 GMC Denali's. He's got a 3,500, and he's got a dually, the 3,500 or 4,500, and that may be dually trucks, right? That are all new, all 2024s. He's got 8 trailers. He's got a 4, a 5, 2 6s, a 7, an 8, and a 10. 7 trailers.
Jeez.
Yeah.
He must ship all the other breeds too, does he, Billy?
He's starting to, yeah, but they don't like the side, like the slant load trailers. They like head to head ones.
Right.
So he said he was looking for one, just to be a 4-horse, right? Like that's the way they like. Actually, I like those too. So
yeah.
And but they were, they're just some are tough to back in stalls and stuff, but they get used to it after a bit. So anyway, he's been shipping quite a few a lot of jumping horses. He's got 2 or 3 big accounts there too, right? They ship around, and they probably take 6 or 8. I think they took to Ottawa. He was over there. He said they go over for a week at a time. He takes them over and goes back and gets them.
I think that Howie Houghton's sons are in the shipping business also.
Are they?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're doing very well. That's Meadowbrook Ralph Tufano, huh?
Yeah. That's your father.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ralph, he said that, I saw him at the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago, and he said that the boys were doing that. They were both there. It was a memorial for Dottie or something, right? Maybe when she got inducted. Yeah. So they were both there. They're both boys.
Michael, could this be true? What I just put up there?
It is true. Well, they advanced to the next step, and I believe a Queens casino also advanced, and
Yeah.
that would be the Shea Stadium, right? Aren't they in Queens?
Yeah, I think it's Aqueduct, isn't it?
I'm going to read it right now. I got it. Hang on.
I would
Yeah.
think Aqueduct. So
Here we
Yeah.
go. Casino proposals for Yonkers and Queens approved by community advisory councils 12 hours ago.
Yeah, I
In
read that.
Yonkers,
Yeah.
the vote was unanimously in favor of a full casino license for MGM. Where do I have it here? Back it up here. Advisory councils. Okay. Community advisory councils in Yonkers and Queens have voted in favor of casino proposals in their communities. It's the first time community advisory councils in downstate New York have approved proposals. 3 Manhattan plans were rejected.
yeah, they were
The final
rejected.
decision is which locations will get a casino, which will be made by a state commission in December. In Yonkers, the vote was unanimously in favor of a full casino license for MGM Empire City. The move brings Yonkers one step closer to actually getting approved for one of 3 downstate casinos. We are grateful to the community, blah, 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 blah. So Yonkers is in good shape.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
That's probably why they made the deal. They know they're going to be in good shape anyway.
Yeah. Well, it'll be
Yeah.
a number of years before it opens. I mean, whatever
Yeah.
they're going to build, right? So they,
Yeah.
yeah. Who would they build? Add on to what they have there? I don't know. I've never been to it, so I don't know what it looks like.
Well, there's a possibility of hotels in their future.
Oh, they
Oh,
all,
oh,
yeah,
So that comes along
Yeah,
naturally.
they all go.
They got to have.
They all do that, right?
Yeah.
Like here,
Yeah.
the Woodbine, they built one here to a hotel. I don't know how it's doing, but that's in
Hey,
the Woodbine.
Larry,
But
it's 10:27. Should we call it a night?
yeah, I think so. But I just want to say one thing.
What?
No room. There's no room at Yonkers. There's the Major Deegan right there. Where
The parking lot. Parking lot.
the parking lot's not. Well, I guess.
That's pretty big. It's pretty big, that parking lot.
If there's enough money, Larry, they'll figure it out.
So you know what? That you talk about the parking lot in the back on the back stretch there. There's a reservoir back there. I don't know how close they can build to that reservoir, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's 2 main streets. There's a
McLean Avenue. Yeah, McLean Avenue.
There's a river down the road a bit. There's
They'll be okay. I think they'll just expand what's there because there's still a lot of room there. Yeah.
Well, what about is the old parking lot, the layered parking lot, is that still there in the parking lot? Like, it's so high there when you go in off of Yonkers Avenue, that's crisis. What is it? 150 feet high, 200 feet high there, it seems like, right? By the time you get up to the track and stuff. But
one hotel will take care of that. And then
for sure.
Where do you put after that?
Well, I'm sure they must have it.
Well, you got to look at what we just said, that the stable area is going to go, so you can look at that going. So
that could be a hotel, destination there, maybe, right?
And I mean, like the last time I was there, the stable area looked like it did 30, 40 years ago. They still had that wooden thing holding the one thing up.
Greg said that part of the deal was they had to stable horses there.
I think.
Well, that has been the deal. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, last
time Stewart,
last time I raced a horse, I was at the Meadowlands and I shipped a horse over for a series, and Wing drove him for me. So anyway, Pierre was working for me. Come back that night, so I go to the barn after races at the Meadowlands, and he was coming off the trailer, and he had a cooler on him with binder twine holding the cooler on, his race halter on him, and a piece of binder twine. I said, "Where's your equipment?" He said, I put the horse in the stall, in the shipping stall, and I went up the diner for something to eat. And I come back, and they stole his bandages, his blanket, his halter, the feed tub, and water bucket. They took it all.
They took everything.
Yeah, I said, "Good job, you didn't leave the harness there."
Yeah.
Yeah, they stripped us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Yonkers.
Larry, gonna wrap up or what?
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up.
Larry,
I just want to one last thing. You'll probably maybe in 4 years, if that's true that you have to have your horses stable on the grounds to get a casino, you could say, yeah, my horse go to the 55th floor. They're going to have high-rise stable area.
Yeah, there you go.
No,
yeah.
no. They can have just a minimal amount. Obviously, they have what they're going to have. There's only a couple of barns, huh? And they're all downstairs, I think.
Well,
they're all downstairs now.
Yeah.
Well, that's because upstairs is downstairs now. It all collapsed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But it's a lot more valuable property now as of today.
I'm gonna tell you, like when I stabled at Yonkers, I hated it. It was like being stabled in a fucking, excuse the language, prison. I mean, it was just awful.
You know, that place was designed by the warrant of Sing Sing, right?
I believe it.
No, that's why they built it that way, in case they needed a prison or it didn't go as a racetrack, that they were going to use it as a prison.
But it was awful, and a lot of people probably don't remember during the Thoroughbreds when they were over there. The Three Stooges filmed a movie over there, and the Marx Brothers did too.
Oh yeah. Well, all I remember is this: sleeping in the shed row at Yonkers, and on my cot, and I felt something running all over me all night, and I thought it was a cat, and it was rats. So that was the end of me.
Yeah, so you were only one letter off.
Yeah. So I hooked my bed up to the cross ties and used to sheen it up after that.
Really, this kid Eric wants to know: is Luke Roulette still racing up there?
He's still training. He trains. Yeah, is actually he and his wife Anita. They got, I don't know, 8 or 10 probably. They raise their own. They got some brood mares. They got a farm, and Luke don't drive anymore, but they race some. Yeah.
I know. A few years back.
Christy just told me.
A few years back, Jackie Lee's son had some horses with him. So.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he had part of Anthony McDonald too, the stable. He owns.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And there's a lot of guys that own pieces of those horses that like Scott McKelvey was a race secretary here for 38 years. He's part of the stable. I heard tonight. He had a couple in tonight that were racing in the Constellation or whatever it was. Or maybe overnight tonight, tomorrow night, the Constellation.
Oh no, he's doing a terrific job.
Yeah. No, he keeps her going. He don't keep as many up here as he used to, but he one time he had 100 horses here training. Then he started.
Thank you, David. We'll end on this. We may not always agree, but these conversations are really fun. So
And this happened because of you, Greg. Because prior to that, there was a dating site. All of this thing here it was like a dating site. Everybody saying hello. Ever since you come on, you got these guys to answer questions, and that's why the other night, you know what time? 4.5 hours. I got done at
12:30.
30 because they kept asking a lot of questions. Okay, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you then.
Thank you for tuning in. Good night.
We'll be back Thursday.
Good night.
Thanks for coming.
Good night.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye.